Okay. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is your Committee on Education. Today's date is the 17th of February. It's about 2:03 in this conference room, 309 in the state capitol. We have about 15 bills on the agenda today. First, we have about 1,000 testimonies for one of the measures. And so we're going to assess a 1-minute time period, and Vice Chair is going to explain that. Vice Chair.
Thank you so much. It's very important to us that we get to throughout the hearing today and then get to hear from everybody as well. So we will be observing a 1-minute time for your testimony. A countdown will be displayed on the screen so that those on Zoom can also see it. So if you can kindly observe, prepare your remarks so that we can get through everyone's testimony who'd like to be able to testify in front of our committee today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Okay. And with that said, we will start with our first bill, HB 1934. And this is with regards to Imagination Library of Hawaii. First up on our testifiers list, we have the State Librarian offering testimony and support.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Thank you so much. You have our written testimony. I would just like to emphasize, if we're really going to improve literacy across the state, making an investment in our youngest readers to have a library is so important, their own library. Also that there is a way that the state really does provide support so that as we move with nonprofits, and we can continue to find others over time who can help support this project too. So in the beginning, we'll really need the support of the state. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for being here. Next, we have Friends of the Library of Hawaii offering testimony and support in person. Hi, how are you?
Hi, the Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Manuel Mao, I'm the Executive Director of Friends of the Library of Hawaii. And we support this bill. We currently run the Imagination Library across 5 islands in rural areas, and it is a globally proven program. It is very cost-effective, and as written, we do hope that there's amendments to the funding section where it does ask for 50-50 match, where with the entire statewide population, that would be a pretty big ask, especially upfront. So we asked for state funding for a couple of years to get the program off the ground, and then give us time, if we are the nonprofit, to find local funding to support.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Next, we have Oahu Exclusive Co-op offering testimony support, only written testimony. We have also 8 individuals offering testimony support, 1 in opposition. That's all I see for HB 1934. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, members, are there any questions? I have a question for the State Librarian. Your testimony indicates that this is actually an existing program, so it's not different. It's just asking for an expansion of that.
Yes, we focused on the most in-need communities, so Molokai and then particular zip codes across the state. And so we have libraries that are providing applications on Kauai, Maui, Molokai, and Lanai. So it would be an expansion for all children across the state, 0 to 5.
Thank you so much. Any other questions, members? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to the next bill. Next bill is HB 2004. This is with regards to a floating librarian. It's an extension of the pilot program that we currently have. First on our testifiers list is the State Librarian offering comments in person.
Please stand on our written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Next, we have Department of Education offering testimony in support in person.
Aloha, Chair Woodson and Vice Chair Lachika, Terry Shijima, Assistant Superintendent, testifying on behalf of the Department of Education in support of this measure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Next, we have HSTA offering testimony support in person. HSTA. Okay, we have an individual, Dr. Sun Yi, offering testimony in support via Zoom.
Yes, thank you. I'm Sunyin Pai, a retired community college librarian, and I've worked at UH Manoa and Kapiolani Community College. I have observed that many of our high school graduates are struggling to adjust to college-level learning. Community colleges accept all students, but many arrive unprepared for college courses. As a result, they often need to take remedial classes at their own expense, which don't count toward their degree or certificate. This can be costly and discouraging, causing many to drop out. School librarians train students to study better and successfully pass college entrance and qualification exams. They play a vital role in student preparedness. We're also concerned about the increasing spread of social media bias and misinformation. With the exploding presence of AI, we need school librarians to teach students how to critically evaluate the information they find online. They do this by helping students process their emotional responses to social media and not to respond so quickly. I am in full support of this bill. I hope that you continue to support this. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We also have testimony from 5 individuals, 1 in opposition to this bill, HB 2004. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, members, are there any questions?
Question.
Okay, Vice Chair.
Department of Education, please. Thank you. So last year, I know we passed Act 134? But House Bill 961, what's the current, are we experiencing any challenges identifying a neighbor island complex area?
Yes, we did, but we have identified a neighbor island and an Oahu complex area, and we are in the process of recruiting, which is the upcoming time frame for when teachers can apply for transfer. We did identify an Oahu complex area earlier on. There were no qualified candidates that we could draw upon because the bill requires the person to be a certified librarian.
Okay, and then what happens to the existing funds that we had appropriated from last session? It's still intact?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Katie, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Members, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go on to the next bill, which is HB 2398. This clarifies the library's role regarding RN and CIP projects. First up, we have is the state librarian system in support in person.
Yeah, Hawaiian State Public Library System in support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Board of Education offering comments.
Hello, Chief.
Oh, Board of Education.
Board of Education.
Yeah. And next we have Department of Education in person, providing comments.
Hello, Chair, members of the committee, Jesse Suki, Deputy Superintendent of Operations. We stand on our testimony and comments and available for questions.
Thank you for being here. Next we have comments from the Attorney General's office in person.
Good afternoon, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Lachika, members of the committee. It's Randall Watt, with the Department of Attorney General comments. As outlined further in testimony, the Department thinks that the phrase "land controlled by the board" is vague and have suggested amendments to address this. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And we also have 2 testifiers, 1 in opposition, 1 in support, individuals for HB 2398. Anyone else? Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Vice Chair.
Libraries, please. Thank you, Mallory. If you can kindly just share the intent and what the bill is intending to achieve, and if there's any specific there are obstacles or what are you currently experiencing with the issue right now?
Right, so
Title issue.
decades ago, the public and school libraries were built at the same time a school was built. So they're very close to the school buildings, and over time, the school has expanded. Now we have had more renovations to our public libraries. We have different uses from the school campuses. So there's been some conflicts over the last several years. More recently, we had a conflict when we were trying to build a new public library on the Big Island. And so we thought this was the best way to try to address this. We have a separate set of CIP funding that we have a time limit to expend the funds, and so we just want to be able to control and make sure that we don't lapse our funds.
Has that been a common issue of lapsing the amount when there's delays?
No, this was the first time, a big one, but we've had other conflicts in the past that we've had to resolve.
Thank you. Did you get a chance to take a look at Attorney General's testimony?
No, we haven't seen it yet.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. DOE, please. Thank you, Deputy, for being here. Have there been any instances in recent history to where there was discussion between the state library system and the DOE and the proposed activity regarding an R&M or CIP project impeded learning, or otherwise broadly speaking regarding school operations? Has there been any significant disruptions?
Deputy Superintendent Jesse Suki of Operations. The issue that it looks like libraries are trying to address here is an issue that any land developer wanting to use third-party land, especially school land, would face. And there are conflicts because as...
When you say third party, what do you mean? Third-party land? Is that what you said?
Someone who, I use it generally as an entity that doesn't own the land that they'd like to develop on. So as the previous testifier for the library said, there are conflicts, and that's a natural thing because the schools have a certain mission and the libraries have a certain mission. So for example, there's a bill that was circulating where it is asking, the legislature is creating an opportunity for certain entities to serve alcohol on land. One of those entities is the library. And so if the libraries, there's 12 of them on school land or adjacent to school land, that would create a problem because under state law and rules, you can't serve alcohol within 500 feet or yards from a school. So, those kind of conflicts come up. Another common conflict is pick up and drop off. So I'm not sure what lapse funding project that was, but a recent project in KL for a library. So a lot of back and forth about pick up drop off because we will no longer as a school be able to use the pick up drop off that they used to have. It's a big deal for parents, big deal for safety. And so it took a long time to talk about and explore how pick up drop off would be addressed moving on into the future. There's the issue of, so I'm identifying issues because you asked, and so another issue is, when a library is open to the general public and it's in the middle of a campus, we have a duty and obligation to be sure that those persons are not on the harm to student registry. That's difficult to do when you have a library open to the general public. Other issues, some of them are listed in the testimony.
That's interesting. And so, per your first example, did that significantly disrupt DOE operations to have to make a change with regards to pick up and drop offs?
Oh yeah, yes.
How so?
Well, in that particular case, an area that was used for pickup and drop off for as long as the school's been there probably, no longer could be used. And the way that the traffic is, the roads are set up, it's not an easy fix to have parents pick up and drop off in a different area. It creates safety issues, it creates issues with parents wanting to pick the kids up across the street, and so the kids are off campus now, that's an issue. So it is a significant hurdle, to address.
Thank you, Deputy. I think I see that librarian shaking her head. If you want to come up and respond.
So in this particular case, the new library project, which is around on the KL-Pahoa Road, is going to utilize use of 2 out of the 3 driveways. About a year and a half, no more than 2 years prior to us starting construction, the school did start using it for pickup and drop off. But prior to that, it was not a regular transit hub or anything for the school. They also have another very large parking lot on the other side of the campus, which they use for pickup and drop off. I think and Mr. Suki here was not there when we were going through and starting this whole project with the Department of Education, but We spent many months, years chasing to get responses from the DOE to help us figure out this project. And it got to the point where we had an environmental assessment done, and notifications went to the DOE, and the DOE did not respond at all. So at that time, if the DOE had submitted comments about the transportation, the traffic issues, we could have tried to address something. But we didn't get any response.
Okay, thank you. Remember, any other questions? Vice Chair, go ahead.
Deputy State, so in this case, like, is there a process in place when you are kind of planning for something like this? And do you kind of know that there are these outstanding things that you need to assess and provide comments on so that things don't get further delayed?
So I don't want to debate the facts.
Yeah.
I think we have different facts. But the pickup and drop off area was and is being used, and now it can't be used in the way that it was because the library is there. And that's not, the library is a benefit for the community, so there's no doubt about that. But the pickup drop off needs to be figured out. As far as planning, these development projects, just generally, they go through a due diligence process, figuring out if the land is suitable for the project you're proposing, this testing due to the soil, this community outreach. It sometimes gets wrapped up, it usually gets wrapped up in the environmental review process. I can tell you that I've worked on many developments, and I don't know the facts or the history on this one, but if I'm a developer coming in to develop something and it's going to impact a particular property owner, we don't close that environmental document until we get some feedback. If we have to track them down and corner them in the elevator, because it's going to impact them, and whether or not they respond, there's impacts that we need to mitigate and address. So I mean that's part of the process, and it wasn't. This is not a DOE plan. It was a public library system plan process. So.
I think my request is if you can work with the libraries, because we do have some projects that are going to come online and that the legislature would like to see funded. So maybe some type of review and see this is your jurisdiction and this is libraries, and there has to be a way that we both anticipate and then prepare for how we respond to.
I agree. The earlier you start on any type of land project, the better. And talking about, this is going to be impacted. Here's how we address it. This is how it's, that's important. Usually reduced to a memorandum of agreement.
Yeah, right.
And then the project starts, and you have all that figured out. That is a good process we like.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Quick question, Chair.
Please go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much, Yes. I think that some of the issues have already kind of been brought up. But at what point do you folks bring in the complex area superintendent or someone that's working on the ground in community to try and alleviate some of these pressure points? Because I think that was one of the issues that we saw with the KL library, that there were just multiple people that didn't fully understand the project, even though the library had really gone through the process of making sure they had all of their ducks in a row. And then it seemed like on the DOE side, that's where there was a lot of miscommunication between I want to call it the bureaucracy of the department because it is so large. At what point in time does the complex area, the principal, get involved in this project? Because that seemed to be the point where we were able to turn the project around. Because you had people who were trying to do a groundbreaking and then being stopped by the principal, essentially, because there was no communication.
So I wouldn't say there wasn't any communication. From my own observation, I wasn't here in the very beginning of this particular project, but there were a lot of thorny issues that they were trying to work through. The pickup drop-off was a big issue that they're still, I think, working on. The noise from construction and how the silt net's going to be put up. It's right next to some portable classrooms. They figured that out, but so there was a slope that went down into a drainage area that had to be figured out. So it was just complicated in that way. And
I recognize that, but I also feel like these are issues that should have been resolved almost years before we had gotten to that point. So it was kind of like a last-ditch effort to get things put together when you had contracts that were meant to have already started and principals that are saying, no, because we're not set with this. And I think that it's really on the department to make sure that those are the ducks that are in a row so that we don't Like, there could have been a lot of issues with the library project in KL, and I have a lot of people that are looking forward to that project.
Yes, yeah.
But I really do feel like it was on the department to have not prepared local leadership on island and on the campus better. And I'd like to see, as this moves forward, I'd like to see you folks work a lot harder to make sure that those projects actually align.
It's only been a few months, but I hope that we're working better.
Okay. I think I just want to share this, and the reason for this bill is that when we were trying to get started on the project, like the contractor got given NTP, then we were told we had to stop. The first thing that we were told is, it's not your property. Even though we already have a KL public and school library in the center of the campus, we're now building a new public library away from the school children and other school buildings. But we were told, this is not your property, it's DOE property. So that's why there was the 2 months of delay before we could really start the construction, because we needed to we had to negotiate a right of entry, and then they also required us to execute the MOA before they would let us on the property. And the MOA was for future use, which we were a little concerned about, because at that point, we still had time to do it, but it was a requirement that we do all of these things. And, I mean, to be honest, with some of the provisions in there, we were not that comfortable with, because it would require us to get DOE approval if we do any future renovations to the library building, which is going to be, the future building is going to be a public library only, not a school and public library. So we have some issues, and that's why the language would clarify that it's really the Board of Ed through the state librarian that have oversight over these projects. Because one of the things that we might not be able to fund right away is EV charging stations. So we've got it planned out, but it depends on what the bids come in at. But that would be a future issue, or like we have to change out the air conditioning or something like that. So that would be a little concerning to get timely responses from the DOE.
Okay, that's a lot of discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Unless there's any other questions. Please come up. There's another testifier. Yeah, please come up. Please come up and state your name and your affiliate.
Sorry, hello, my name is Kaipo Diaz. I just want to let you know that me and my ohana traveled all the way from Kapolei. We can barely hear you talking. So I don't know if you could just talk a little louder, because we don't want to miss anything. Like Ms. Capella, you talk very loud and clear. We can hear you clear. That's awesome.
Okay.
I don't want to. We don't want to miss anything. Sorry, that's why I said just say it back then.
Thank you for your
Please.
feedback.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, members? Okay, seeing that, we're going to go on to the next bill, which is HB 1764. This is with regards to the music accessibility pilot program. First up, we have on our list is state libraries in support in person.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. We stand in support of our testimony.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for being here. Next, we have Hawaii Sympathy Orchestra offering testimony and support. We have Surfco Pacific INC in support. And we have 65 individuals all offering testimony in support. Anyone else?
Sorry, did you call? I couldn't hear. I'm Amy Wana, President and CEO of the Voice.
Please.
Okay. Thank you. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, I'm Amy Wana, President and CEO of the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra. And this bill would provide for more live performances for citizens across the state through the library system. Music feeds the soul, while books feed the mind. Music has also been shown in many studies to support the education and better test scores among students. So this bill would bring more music, the joy of music, and the healing power of music to people across the state from Keiki to Kapuna. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for being here. Anyone else? HB 1764. Okay, seeing none, members of the, please come up. State your name and your affiliate.
My name is Debbie Smith, and I am a student on Oahu
My siblings have been blessed by this youth symphony program, and I believe that it's also improved them with their schooling as well, especially the memorization aspect of music. And so I believe that I'm in support of this bill because it is greatly impacting my family individually.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for being here. Anyone else? HB 1764. Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, seeing that, we're going to move on to the next bill, which is HB 2577. This is with regards to licensure of electronic materials. First up, we have DOE offering comments in person.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Terry Ushijima. We stand on our written testimony providing comments, so thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for being here. Next, we have State Library System in support in person. Sorry. Okay, you're setting up your testimony.
Yes, I submitted testimony, I have our written testimony, but I have just 3 points to make on this specific bill. The purpose of the legislation is to ensure that contracts for library ebooks and digital audiobooks are governed by Hawaii law and reflect Hawaii public policy. The bill relies on existing state authority over contracts, unconscionability, and unfair and deceptive acts and practices to establish enforceable standards that allow libraries to continue to provide open, non-discriminatory access to information, education, and culture as technology evolves. This ebook bill does not regulate copyright or compel publishers to license materials or affect consumer ebook markets. Publishers remain free to decide whether to offer digital materials to libraries. The bill regulates only the fairness and enforceability of contract terms when publishers choose to license electronic literary materials to libraries serving the public. Digital access is now essential to education, workforce development, cultural continuity, and equal opportunity throughout Hawaii. Without intervention, libraries will continue to spend public resources on expensive, expiring licenses that are inflated in prices and non-negotiable contract terms, which undermine our long-term mission to provide access and preservation. Mahalo for this opportunity.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Kobayashi Suguda and Guda, LLP. Sugita, sorry.
Thank you, Chair Whitson, Vice Chair Lachika, members. I represent the American Association of Publishers, and I strongly oppose this bill. The bill is very, very flawed. It's going to raise many, many legal challenges. First, it violates federal law. It's preempted. That is, the federal law takes precedence as the U.S. copyright law because you cannot restrict how authors want to contract with others about their works. This essentially tries to rig or establish a playing field where authors cannot negotiate for contracts. They just have to accept the terms that the libraries want to give them. And it outlaws a number of things. So this has been challenged in court before in Maryland. It's going to lead to challenges, and it will be bad for Hawaii because it will preclude Hawaii authors from making their own contracts, and it's likely going to result in libraries not getting access to books. So thank you for this bill.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have the Independent Book Publishers Association offering testimony in opposition. We have the Association of American Publishers in opposition. Copyright Alliance, opposition. News Media Alliance, in opposition. Protect the Creative Economy Coalition, in opposition. And one individual in support. Anyone else? HB 2577. Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Vice Chair.
Libraries, please, Aldrich. If you can kindly respond, and if you've gotten a chance to see the testimony that was submitted, most of which were in opposition, just commenting on the federal preemption and then the copyright laws. Are you familiar? Was this something that you encountered when you were looking at legislation?
There are multiple states that have actually tried to pass legislation, and Connecticut has been successful. It has not been overturned, has not been challenged. That one just passed last year. Maryland was challenged on copyright, and it was canceled as legislation. So when you look at copyright, yes, there is copyright, and libraries support copyright. We're palaces of authors. We want authors to make money. But the argument that we're denying authors the ability is not the author. The publishers make the deals with the authors. The publishers determine how much money an author gets from ebook and also from paper sales. So we're not involved in the process of determining how much the author is making. What we're looking at is making sure that libraries have access to materials so that our public has access to all the same materials that the public does. And just to give you a sense of how much it costs, so Stephen King's Never Flinch. The paper book for a consumer costs $32, and libraries, we pay $32. An ebook costs a consumer $16.99. It costs libraries $67.99 for one copy to circulate that copy. We don't even own it. And then for the audiobook, $19.99 for a consumer, and we pay $84.99. And again, we only have it for a limited time. We don't own that actual book. So for us in Hawaii with 6 islands, being able to have access to digital materials expands collections, gives more people more opportunities to access the same stories.
And then do you track, what is the turnover rate in terms of what's expiring when you have as you shared, it's no longer in your possession, and so what happens? It gets returned, or?
So after so many usages, well, there's about 5 different models. There's usage, there's like 26 usages, there's, you can use it for a year. Depending on when it finishes the usage, then we get a little note that determines if there's any holds. Then we'll buy it again to make sure it's accessible to the people waiting. If there aren't any holds, then it disappears from the collection.
But do you have data on how much of this is a big issue?
I can get that to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
You said individual consumer pays, and let's just use round numbers, $16. But the library has to pay $60.
$67.89.
$67.89, okay. On that $67.89 purchase, how many users get to use that?
Well, if you think about 21 days for a hold, and if it's a 26, you can use it 26 times, then it's just 26 times. It just depends on the model. Or if it's a year, it's 21 holds. So depending on how many users are waiting in line at 21 days, it's not very many people if you think about it. It's
Even
like one a
if we
month.
use 26 times, I'm not the smartest person in this room, but 26 times divided into the 67 and some change seems like a pretty significant savings.
I don't know that it's a savings considering for paper, we're still charging the same amount.
Or we're just
And
talking
we
about
circulate items over and over and over again in paper.
Thank you, Rep. Members, any other questions? Go ahead. Rep. Costello.
Thanks for being here. The effective date of the bill includes language that says, provided that the enforcement of its provisions shall not commence until at least one other state enacts a law similar in purpose to this act, regulating contractual licensing of electronic literary materials to libraries. You referenced the Connecticut law, so is the Connecticut law broadly similar and comply with that last component, meaning that this would go into effect?
It's broadly similar, but they have their trigger includes same population of the state passing law or several states. So it's a little more specific. So even if we passed it, if Connecticut wasn't triggered, we wouldn't trigger until Connecticut triggered.
I see. And the point of that language is to ensure defensibility. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Members, any other questions? A couple questions. One of the testifiers did indicate that if this proposal passed, because of some of the provisions, it would potentially open them up to liability, specifically regarding the broadness of the Copyright Act, what it covers, and then the contractual provisions that are in the statute. If there's a conflict, what is your response to that?
conflict with the federal, I think that would have to be taken up in the courts.
Okay. Do you know what the result was? Do you know what court struck down this law per the Maryland decision?
The Maryland, I can get back with you on that.
We don't know what level of court. And did you say per the Connecticut law that was passed, it has not been challenged in court?
No, not in Maryland. It just passed.
It just passed this year or last year?
Last year, 25.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you so much. Remember, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go on to the next bill. Thank you. Which is HB 2376. This is with regards to homeschooling and DOE testing. First, on our testifiers list, we have superintendent offering testimony in support in person.
Chair Wilson, Vice Chair Latika, and members of the committee can provide here on behalf of the Department of Education. We stand on our written testimony in support of Mr. Mahalo.
Thank you for being here. Next, we have DHS offering testimony support. Department of Human Services in support. Next, we have Oahu Inclusion Co-op offering testimony in opposition. Homeschool Legal Defense Association offering testimony in opposition. And person. Yeah, we have a new like microphone system. We're trying to figure out the triangulation. It sounds better over there than it does here, so we're working through technical difficulties.
It's hard to hear your wonderful voice, sir.
Yeah.
We can hear her clearly, thank you, but your handsome voice is very hard for us to hear, so thank you.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Will Estrada. I'm Senior Counsel at the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. I'm a homeschool graduate, homeschool dad, and it's a privilege to be here and speak in opposition to HB 2376. I submitted written testimony. I'm happy to answer any questions throughout the day, but just want to hit 4 quick things. The first one is Hawaii has very high regulation on homeschoolers. This bill is unnecessary. The current law has worked for decades. Second one, this bill will hurt homeschool families by reducing the flexibility that homeschooling offers. It's one of the reasons why homeschooling works so well and why so many families are continuing to choose to homeschool, including many of the ones behind me and in the hallways as well. Number 3, my dad spent 37 years as a New York State special education public school teacher. This bill will hurt our public schools. 5,000 more students will be coming in. Our public schools don't receive enough services and support. And then number 4, this bill is potentially unconstitutional. It would make Hawaii the only state in the nation to require homeschoolers to take public school tests. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that testimony. Thank you so much. Next, we have Christian Homeschoolers of Hawaii in opposition via Zoom.
Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Lachika, and members of the House Education Committee. My name is Daniel Mather, and I serve as President of Christian Homeschoolers of Hawaii. We've been serving homeschoolers in the state of Hawaii since 1988, and we respectfully testify in opposition to this bill. Homeschooling in Hawaii is already governed by a comprehensive accountability framework under Hawaii Administrative Rules, Chapter 12. Parents are already required to submit standardized test results in grades 3, 5, 8, and 10, along with annual progress reports in all other years. Accountability already exists in law. The bill does not create accountability that duplicates it, and no evidence has been provided that shows current accountability is insufficient. It also requires homeschool students to test at a public school that a child would otherwise be required to attend. Testing environment matters. Students placed in unfamiliar institutional settings may experience anxiety or distraction, producing results that reflect stress rather than academic mastery. Parents possess a fundamental constitutional right to direct the education of their children, and Hawaii's existing framework appropriately balances that liberty with accountability. This bill disrupts that balance and addresses no demonstrated failure. For these reasons, we respectfully urge your opposition. Thank you. Mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony. Next we have Kupa'a Homeschool Academy in opposition via Zoom.
Aloha, this is Ashley Oyama, and I am the founder for Kupa'a Homeschool Academy, and I stand in strong opposition to HB 2376. Low enrollment in public schools is not happening because families reject accountability. It is happening because families are responding to lived experience. Parents do not want their children in classrooms where violent or chronically disruptive behavior is tolerated without meaningful consequences. They do not want their children subjected to bullying that goes unaddressed while academic instruction suffers. Families are seeking safe, stable environments where learning can actually take place. They are also seeking transparency and respect for parental authority in deeply personal areas, including religious beliefs, moral instruction, and medical decision-making. If parents may choose public, charter, or private school without this additional condition, why are homeschool families being singled out? That is unequal treatment. That's discrimination. So we must ask, is this about academic improvement or about expanding state control in response to declining enrollment? Children are not funding units. No funding formula should override constitutional parental rights. I urge you to reject this bill, HB 2376. Mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Coalition for Responsible Home Education offering testimony in support via Zoom.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Tess Allry. I'm the Executive Director of the Coalition for Responsible Home Education. We are a homeschool alumni founded and powered organization, and we are in strong support of this bill. I mentioned that our work is child-centered, not parent-centered, because we believe strongly in a child's right to an open future, and we believe that legislative guideposts like these are needed for responsible homeschooling. Homeschool alumni that participate in our regular focus groups overwhelmingly tell us that regular checkpoints, like the ones that are proposed here in HB 2376, would have provided a more robust system of support for their future and an understanding of their own progression and educational journey. My research team shared specifics with you about the reality of educational neglect in homeschooling, as well as the critical math gap that is showing more and more. And we firmly believe that with regular assessment, like HB 2376 proposes, that this is a reasonable and effective mechanism for ensuring that homeschooled students are on pace with their peers. At CRHE, we believe the children of Hawaii deserve the same access to an open future that their traditionally schooled peers have, and we thank you for considering this.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have St. Benedict Hall, Kailua, in opposition. Next, we have Kiris Keiki Homeschool Co-op in opposition. Please come up.
This is my spokesperson. Aloha, members of the committee. My name is Stephanie Chow, and I am speaking in representation of 124 families here on Oahu who are part of the Curious Keiki Homeschool Co-op. We stand on our written testimony in opposition to this bill, and I would also like to emphasize two of the points that we brought up in that written testimony. We believe that this bill is going to be, first of all, ineffective in perhaps one of the impetus behind the bill. We do recognize that there are cases that have happened where children were removed from the school system under suspicious circumstances, ostensibly to homeschool, and unfortunately those children's lives were lost. But you may also be familiar with the maxim, hard cases make bad law. And we think that that is going to be the case here. If you look at the CDC's report on what are the risk factors that lead to abuse, we're looking at things like poverty, single parents, young parents. And we think that resources should be going in these directions rather than taking the parents who are caring for and being responsible for their children's education. And I apologize, I know my time is up. The last thing I would like to say is that educators are spending 1,080 hours with these children every year. And yet educators as mandatory reporters are only responsible for 10% of child abuse cases that are reported. And on top of that, only 14% of those cases are confirmed to be cases of abuse. And so if we're gonna take these teachers who are already overworked and stressed and ask them to spend a couple of hours with strangers, we don't think that this bill is going to be effective in helping against the harm of child abuse. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Moms for Liberty offering testimony in opposition in person. Moms for Liberty. Are they here? On the outside? We have several hundred individual testifiers offering testimony in opposition. If you want to provide testimony, please come up and state your name while I go through this list.
Please feel free to start lining up. Thank you.
Maybe we can have sergeants organize online. Quick recess.
Yeah, we're just gonna manage.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. We're reconvening for HB 2376. Please state your name and your affiliate for the next testifier.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair. My name is Brian Lawton. I'm in opposition of this bill and kind of taking a different approach with it. A lot of these things that's been shown today from the librarians that were asking about being, having more librarians and the support of librarians about the kids that are coming from public school, they can't even make it into college. If you go and look at right now, I have two of my older children that have gone and they were in public school, now they were homeschooled.
Sorry, sir.
I guess to sum it up is to say that we've already seen testimony showing how public schools are failing our children right now. We've had committee meetings weeks ago with some with showing that our public schools are failing. So now you're asking us to take homeschool children and put them into a failing system to be tested by a failing system. When we already test, like my children, we test them off of a we use Bob Jones University. So we're already using college stuff to test our children, and they're exceeding, my children now are exceeding the college level. So they're exceeding the grade levels where they're at already. My kids that already graduated, they've already, I had ones that could have graduated 2 years early if I really wanted to graduate early than that. So I coach sports out here. Some of these kids out here I've coached and worked out with, they're ahead of public school kids. So you're asking us to take our children into an environment where it's failing them, not helping them. So that's why I'm opposed to this.
Thank you for your testimony. Okay, state your name and your affiliate.
Laura Burbidge. I'm a Christian Homeschools of Hawaii, the legislative liaison. And so I'm here in opposition to this bill. My husband and I actually helped put this law into place 38 years ago. And we've seen such huge success with students. I have 4 children. They're all grown, married, and have grandkids. And our families are homeschooling also. So for 38 years, we've seen what's in place now actually work. So for 38 years, the DOE actually has our data because we have to submit a progress report every year. So annually, we've already been doing what's being asked as far as assessing our academics. So 38 years worth. And we know across the board nationwide that homeschoolers are doing well. So we feel like this bill truly is unnecessary because it's already being done, tracked, and our homeschoolers are doing well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Next testifier, please state your name and your affiliation.
Hello, my name is Alicia Ortiz. Hello, representatives and chair and vice chair. I appreciate that the legislature is trying to fulfill their responsibilities for homeschooling students' progress. But a certain problem I find the most concerning is that standardized tests will be centered around the public school curriculum, which will be different from what homeschoolers are taught. Homeschooling is loved for being flexible and being able to learn what you want to learn. But sadly, with HB 2376, I fear that contradicts homeschooling's goal. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your testimony.
Aloha Committee, o Christy Dort, Ko'oinoa. I'm a graduate for the University of Hawaii with a bachelor's degree in elementary education, and I strongly oppose this bill. Why? Because in 2022, the legislature passed Resolution 102, which specifically cited the murder of a child in Waimanalo, and in response requested the state auditor to conduct a performance audit, not of homeschoolers, but of child welfare services. This 82-page audit was released in April 2024, concluding with this sentence, quote, worst of all, children were put at risk, end quote. The auditor gave 17 recommendations to keep these children safer. None of those recommendations were associated with homeschoolers because the children that have suffered are the children who are already recognized by the state in need of help from CWS. Instead of focusing on homeschoolers, let's pass bills that help our public schools out and the child welfare system. Mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you, representatives. My name is Lisa Polis. I have a written testimony, but I'm going to actually give a little bit of my personal experience. I homeschooled 4 children. One of them was dyslexic. I didn't need the DOE to tell me that my son was dyslexic. I knew he was dyslexic. As a mother, there are many more metrics than just a test that tells me what are the needs of my children. And I believe homeschoolers know that. I got him tested myself. I found what he needed. I sent him to summer school at West Oahu. So I don't feel that that's something we need you folks to tell us. If you have the resources, great, offer it. And if we want it, we will find it. Secondly, I have a question about the efficacy and accuracy of your DOE's kindergarten entry assessment. My granddaughter was evaluated and given a below average score because she didn't know her letters. That was not true. She actually could identify the alphabet, all of the sounds of all of the letters, because that's how you read phonetically, not by the name A, B, C, D, E, and F. She was reading at 4.5 before I sent her to kindergarten. Put her in kindergarten in Mililani Melka Elementary, and within 3 years, she lost every game that she had. She is now in a private school because she can't read very well now. So I don't know that your testing is what really is going to provide what our children need. We're already very aware of what's going on in their lives, and we care a lot, and we are very, very resourceful. That's what we do as homeschool parents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Next, please come up.
Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Chika, and members of the committee. My name is Elijah Scott. I'm 16 years old, and I've been homeschooled my entire life. Now, I agree with all of the past opposition claims when it comes to there not being enough of a problem and that this bill will not solve those specific problems, and how the tests that would be taken at the schools would not accurately reflect how the students will perform academically. But specifically here, I would like to point out how this bill claims to help with the early identification of developmental delays. And my own experience proves that the parents of these students are far better equipped to identify and accommodate learning struggles than a once-a-year test. See, leading up to 4th grade, I consistently struggled to finish like all of my math problems on time. And in a public system, I might have been held back. However, when my mother observed me closely, she saw that I was not slow at finishing these, but bored. The next year in 4th grade, she decided to move me up to 7th grade math, and I excelled at this and became instantly intrigued in this. I'm currently about to graduate math even as a sophomore in high school and will begin taking college math next year as a junior. Now, none of this would have been possible without homeschooling, and as this bill takes away the flexibility of homeschooling, I believe, and would strongly urge you to defer it. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Honored Chair and members of the committee, my name is Mikaya Kapayola Di Peralta, and I'm a 16-year-old senior homeschooled student from Honolulu, Hawaii. I am here to respectfully oppose HB 2376. Homeschooling has shaped not only my education, but who I am as a person. It has allowed my parents to tailor my learning to my strengths and my challenges. Through tools like the California Achievement Test, I have been able to test at higher academic levels and demonstrate measurable progress. Beyond academics, homeschooling has prepared me for real life. It has taught me discipline, critical thinking, and the confidence to speak publicly, including sitting before you today. I believe that in a traditional public school setting, I would not have been able to thrive in the same way. So while accountability matters, I believe this bill removes flexibility from families who are already demonstrating educational success and shifts decision-making away from parents who know their children best. So as a student who has directly benefited from homeschool freedom and who hopes one day to homeschool my own children, I respectfully ask you to preserve the flexibility that has allowed students like me to thrive. Please vote no on HB 2376. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you so much. Next two, please come up. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Paiya. I'm 10 years old, and I strongly oppose this what's about to be. I have very shy and very introverted friends, and I can't imagine putting them in a room full of strangers that they don't even know. Another reason is I play sports, and sometimes I come home with bruises. Now the teachers, they don't know if I come home with bruises every day. So if they try to fine or do anything to my parents, that would cause a disaster.
Thank you. That's a good point. Please go ahead.
My name is Sally, and I would not like to do this law because I can say that I'm already homeschooled, and I did not want to waste my mom's money with buying our school books, and so I have to avoid this.
Thank you for your testimony. Well done. Good job. Good job. Good job. He's like 5 years old or something like that.
You want meal. Hello, my name is Brandy Simon. I'm a homeschool mom to two. We actually began our homeschool journey when we were in Hawaii, when we were previously stationed in Hawaii. We began that homeschool journey because the school system that we belonged to let us down. And when I say let us down, I mean financially. We were having to pay extra tutoring, extra services, things that were covered through our health insurance because we couldn't get it through the school system. We stuck with homeschooling because we found that, one, with the military lifestyle that we lived, it worked for us. I read through this bill. I don't think it's a great idea. Currently, this year, I'm on track to spend about $28,000 on my two children's education. They both consistently test above grade level. They're very smart, very intelligent. They are at the orthodontist, which is why they're not here with me today. But for my two children, for us to be required to take them to the school, for them to test, and participate in a system that they receive nothing from. My high schooler, Hawaii Department of Education, they cover the cost for dual enrollment for public school students. It's a cost that we pay. All of the services that they cover, we pay. So to have them participate in a system that they do not benefit from at all, and it also kind of begs to the question as who is going to benefit from their test scores and from them for their enrollment and participating. I strongly encourage you guys to oppose this. Like I said, we homeschool because this is what we have determined is best for our children.
Thank you for your testimony. Next two, please come up.
Aloha Chair and members of the Education Committee. My name is Cheryl Toyofuku and I'm a grandmother at Kapuna and I live with the 4 grandchildren from ages 8 to 20. So I'm really proud of my daughter and son-in-law who are homeschooling my 2 grandsons. And my daughter Jamie, she did submit a testimony. So because she took the time to submit a testimony, I would like to read it real quick. I strongly oppose HB 2376. The DOE has failed and is currently failing many of our keiki and their ohana. I am a homeschooling parent for almost 5 years. My children were able to thrive through the success and tremendous support that the homeschool communities provided when the DOE could not. They will continue to thrive without the interference of more regulations and restrictions from the Hawaii DOE. And so I'm a grandparent and I feel the same way because there were also some different restrictions and health mandates that we didn't agree with. So we were so glad to homeschool and we want to continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Aloha Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tiari Kalewahea. I am a mother of 5. I have my son, Kaena, who's 8 years old, that's also homeschooled. We respectfully oppose HB 2376. This bill would require homeschool students to take mandatory in-person testing at the public school they would otherwise attend. Many families choose homeschooling for important reasons, including safety, bullying concerns, medical needs, or the need for a more personalized education. Requiring children to return to the same school environment for testing can create unnecessary stress and hardship. Homeschool families already follow state laws and submit annual progress reports. Additional in-person testing requirements are not needed and may place unfair burdens on families. So Anna, I ask you, how do you feel about having to go back to your old school just to take a test?
No, I don't want to.
He doesn't want to. Will you go back, will going back to your school to take a test stress you out as a test taker?
Yes.
There you hear it. So please allow parents to continue educating their children with the flexibility and oversight already provided under the current law. Mahalo for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your testimony. This group come up, please.
Hi, my name is Alohaleni Kaiban, and I'm a 12-year-old who opposes HB 2376. For these 3 reasons. Our parents, not the government, should be able to choose and administer our assessments. It is not an accurate measure of educational well-being of school-aged children, and this bill would create additional homeschool restrictions. Another reason is because we are learning different things than those students at the public school. There's a bunch of different ways of learning, right? But to put them all into one silent room to take the same exact test doesn't make sense. You would get a bunch of different results and it wouldn't be too much fair. Another reason is because it would not help with monitoring abuse. Some legislators said that one of the reasons is because to check on kids to make sure that they're not being mistreated or abused. But I know this happens, but how does this bill really help that situation? The kids could just be skipping the bell at that day. Would they really come to take the test? What about the yearly requirement to submit an annual report or test scores? You could use that to follow up with children's educational
progress. But as far as abuse and mistreatment in the tragic cases in recent years, the children exhibited red flags before being withdrawn from the school to be homeschooled. School officials should follow up with those families, not target the homeschool community just because they're being abused after being in public school. I oppose HB 2376, and I hope that you will help me stop this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Hi, my name is Kalea. Miss Kalea Kayaba. I am 10 years old and I oppose to HB 2376. I would not like to go to another school to have to take another test. I am not familiar with the work that will be on the test. The other kids, the teachers, and the classroom. Who knows what would happen if I don't pass the test? The bill doesn't say what would happen.
Thank you for your testimony. Yeah, thank you. Good job. Give him a hand. I never said I did this class. Sorry. No class for you, sir.
Hard act to follow. Aloha, my name is David Kaiban. These are my two daughters. We've been homeschooling for 15 years. We have our oldest girl is a senior at Grand Canyon University. She's graduating in April. She was also homeschooled through the curriculum that we use. We oppose Bill HB 2376. For the aforementioned opposition, we agree with all of that, as well as just for us as a family. We are kind of always hesitant about anything that the government will come in and start directing what happens in my household. We are looking to raise good people of character, and what we experience in our homeschool communities and here in the islands is that they are doing the same. We're not just trying to educate these people, we're trying to build good characters in these people, and we don't really think that our children should go through these kinds of restrictions. I would like to offer up an alternative. Rather than your guys' standardized testings, maybe you guys come and check out what we're doing in homeschool, because I think our success rate compared to what's happening, Department of Education has not been doing a good job. In the United States alone, we're in mid to low level tiers compared to other countries. Hawaii in particular, we're very bad in not just mathematics, but grammar. And I would like to challenge, maybe instead of going where the Department of Education is making these tests, maybe you come back and consider in the community, let us pour into you guys and maybe try some of our tests. So we oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Okay. Next testifier, please come up.
How do annual assessments adequately show what we are learning? Aloha, my name is Sarai Akiona. I am 15 years old and I have been homeschooled for the past 5 years. I oppose HB 2376 for 3 reasons. The first reason I oppose HB 2376 is I don't believe this test will properly assess what I learned through homeschool. The work I do at home is completely different from what is taught in public and private schools. Tests don't prove actual knowledge and understanding. The second reason is that tests are stressful. When I had to take tests, I would study for it, which caused a lot of unnecessary stress for me. In homeschooling, I remember the things I have learned because of the conversations and interactive activities I have in our homeschool community. It's not stressful because only my parents and I see the assessment, and it's just to show how much you have learned without anyone's judgment. If I was to get something wrong, my mom will just tell me to try and figure it out, why it was wrong, and correct it. I wouldn't just fail. The last reason is these tests are not created for individual learning types. The first sentence in this bill states that the legislator finds that homeschooling is a valid and beneficial educational option that offers flexibility, individualized instruction, and strong family engagement. If this is true, how can this test validate individualized learning when it is the same test that every DOE student takes across the state? I firmly, earnestly, and passionately oppose HB 2376. Thank you for your time and allowing me to testify.
Thank you for your testimony.
Hi, my name is Kalamuku Akiona. I am a 12-year-old homeschool student and I oppose HB 2376. The first reason I oppose HB 2376 is that standardized tests do not cover what I learn in homeschool. Standardized tests are one size fits all and that's not what learning and understanding is. The second reason is that forcing me to take a test in an unfamiliar setting would be uncomfortable. This would make me extremely nervous and would put unnecessary stress on me. Being in my home environment makes me feel comfortable and not judged. I'm free to make mistakes and learn from it. The third reason I oppose HB 2376 is that not everyone is a good test taker. I've been homeschooled for the last 5 years. Previously, when I was in a classroom setting, I was easily distracted and unable to focus, especially on tests. However, even though someone is not good at test taking, that doesn't mean they aren't learning the material. In homeschool, we have conversations and play games that test our knowledge. I oppose HB 2376. Mahalo for the opportunity to submit testimony.
Thank you so much for being here, Akiotis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please come up.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair Lachika, distinguished members of the committee. My name is Partner Akiona. I'm here not only as a current, what you consider a traditional classroom educator, but also as a father of 6. I'm in strong opposition of HB 2376 for the same reasons that have already been proposed to you, along with just one additional statement. In the language of the bill, in the opening line, it says, HB 2376, the legislature finds that homeschooling is a valid and beneficial educational option. By standard definition, valid is to produce the desired result. The definition for beneficial is to produce or promote a favorable result, possibly even advantageous. Thus, based on the opening language of the bill, homeschooling has already achieved the student success that you guys are searching for. So again, along with the reasons of my constituents in opposition, I respectfully urge the committee to kill this bill. Also, you guys have a very hard job. I understand. You guys have to make a decision for a small group that affects another small group, possibly in mind of a greater group. Yeah. So again, my aloha, respect, and love to you all. Mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony. Okay. Next testifier, please come up.
Aloha, my name is Kihau Akiona, and I'm a homeschooling mom of 6, and I oppose HB 2376. This bill would impose unnecessary stress on homeschooling families like myself who already juggle a lot. Testing a child, also using a standardized test, does nothing to show the knowledge they have learned. Testing is not a means to assess unless you take the whole child individually in mind and assess them that way, not in comparison to others. This bill is also government overreaching parental rights. Parents should have the right to teach our children how and what we want to and assess them in the ways that we want to. Our children do not learn what is taught in DOE schools in homeschool, or private schools. That's why we homeschool them. Standard teaching in schools is not enough, and we believe very inadequate to prepare our children for the world. And like I said, this is the reason we all homeschool. So mahalo for your time, and I strongly urge you to support homeschoolers in Hawaii and vote no on HB 2376. Mahalo.
Thank you so much. Please come up.
Aloha, my name is Joseph Ching. I am a 18-year-old senior, homeschooled, and I'm the oldest of 10 kids in my family. All educators recognize that different children learn best in different ways. Homeschooling gives my parents the freedom to determine how each of their children learns best, and it lets them individualize our curriculum and teaching methods accordingly. Unlike in public school, my parents know what my strengths and weaknesses, skills, deficiencies, and goals are. I have lived with them for all 18 years of my life, after all. So under the current state laws required testing, my parents are already better equipped than public school teachers to determine my and my siblings' educational needs. In the state of Hawaii, public school students with special needs or disabilities are given individualized educational plans or IEPs. Homeschooling is basically a highly customized IEP with the curriculum chosen, personalized, and taught by the people who know and love their student the best. Public school students with IEPs are allowed to take the test with special modifications for each child, and in some cases they can take a completely different test. Because the state of Hawaii has no ability or responsibility to know each homeschooler's learning plan, there is no way that they can also provide testing that appropriately measures our individual educational growth. That is one of the reasons why I oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Okay. Next testifier, please come up.
Aloha Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Chika, and members of the committee. My name is Salia Kealala Pakoa Tibarata. I'm 14 years old and I have been homeschooled for the entirety of my life. I am here in respectful opposition to Bill HB 2376 and the restrictions it would place on homeschool families. I currently test at a 10th to 11th grade level, even though I am only freshman age. I have achieved this through the freedom to learn at my own pace and to take evaluations in a way that fits my education. Passing HB 2376 would take away that freedom. Moreover, one of my greatest aspirations is to become a homeschool mother one day. There's almost nothing I want more than to do so. Bills like these worry me because I hope to one day choose what is best for my children. I want the freedom to provide them with the tools and assessments that truly serve them. So I respectfully ask you all this afternoon. Will you give students like me the freedom to excel? Will you allow homeschool parents, present and future, the ability to educate and evaluate their children without unnecessary restrictions? As a growing student and a future parent, I respectfully ask you to choose freedom. Please vote no on HB 2376. Mahalo for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. My name is Ariel Sato, and I'm a 15-year-old homeschooler from Hawaii Kai. I am here to respectfully yet firmly oppose House Bill 2376. I am sure you are all aware about the requirements of this bill, and while I strongly agree with accountability, this bill wouldn't benefit homeschoolers. Research consistently shows that homeschoolers have been scoring 15 to 25% percentile points higher than the standardized tests on their public school peers, and enjoying higher college acceptance rates. House Bill 2376 needs to fulfill the burden of proof, as does any other argument brought up for the reason of changing the status quo. The burden of proof means that there must be significant harm in the system, that this plan provides a viable solution to that harm, and that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. There's been no evidence of a widespread issue regarding homeschool grades. This bill would produce more disadvantages than advantages and produce more influx for our public school system. Committee members, it is for all these reasons I urge you to cast no on House Bill 2376. Mahalo for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Next two, please come up.
Hi, my name is Sharon Amin, and
what's your name?
My name is Sharon Amin, and I was a public school teacher for 3 years. I was a private school teacher at Hanalani for 3 years, and I've been a homeschool mother of 6 for 12 years. So I have been through all of what we're talking about, and there are wonderful kids in public school. Public school is wonderful, and private school is wonderful, and homeschool is wonderful. What we're really dealing with in this bill of 2376 is not the question of quality, or what we're dealing with is freedom. Do parents have the freedom to put their child in public school? Do they have the freedom to put them in private school? Do they have the freedom to homeschool them according as they see fit? And as Laura Burbidge spoke and said that for 37 years or 34 years, we've had a very excellent system of reporting. And every year I turn in standardized tests for my children, especially in grades 3, 5, 8, and 10, as has been previously stated. I agree with all of the points. And so I just urge you to vote no and oppose this bill, because like it's been stated, it is just redundant. We already have testing in place. What we're really doing is we're taking freedom from homeschoolers, and we're limiting freedom, and we're discriminating against homeschoolers. Has my time ended? So sorry. All right,
It's okay.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
I missed the blinking.
I missed it too.
Hello, my name is Zoe Smith, and I am a constituent living in Mililani Town, as well as Ala Moana part-time. I'm here today to talk about my experiences as a homeschooler living on the island of Oahu, and why I believe that this bill will not be beneficial to any of us. Personally, I've had many stressors being placed upon me as I've gone to test in public schools. My public school for testing is McKinley High School, and in the 6th grade, well, not in the 6th grade, in my freshman year, I went through the test, and I've been called racial slurs by the children who were actually there in the schools, basically almost as soon as I walked in. And it's a very stressful testing experience for me, especially being in a room by myself with a teacher in a cold room where I'm essentially placed in an environment that I'm not particularly used to. And so that can also affect my testing scores. And so as a student who places in college level, who has passed many college level examinations, I find that implementing more testing will not necessarily be beneficial or necessary for any of us, and I believe that the current system, or the status quo, is able to essentially fulfill everything that we have needed or will ever need. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
My name is Brianna Lawton. I am a constituent of Eva Beach, and I would just like to say that this bill will not only violate my rights as an American citizen for the First Amendment, but it will also cripple my peers who have mental issues learning. I have we know a child who is blind, and his mother teaches him, and if he was to be put back into public school, he would be labeled beyond belief, and the teachers would not be able to help him at all. So I believe that this bill will hurt more people than it is supposed to help. I'm sorry, I don't know. But also, schools don't really help with bullying, with very inappropriate things that are done with students to both boys and girls, and schools don't really care. Or children fighting back against bullies, those are their victims. So I believe this bill will not help anyone at all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please come up.
Okay. Aloha kako, my name is Sovereign Hort, and some of you may know of me here. I'm a homeschool sophomore, and I'm finishing up my associate's degree in Hawaiian Studies. Because of homeschooling, I have been able to have many educational opportunities that children in the classroom do not get. Over many years, I have been able to get to know a lot of legislators here in the Capitol and learn about the ways that laws are passed, and it has inspired me to become a lawmaker myself. HB 2376 would take away the experiences I was able to have from other children, as it does not allow for other children to learn the way that they learn best and thrive and grow in understanding of the life around them. Please do not pass this bill for the children who would come after me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your testimony.
Aloha, my name is Lorraine Ewan, and I worked in the public schools as an educational assistant with SPED children, watching them taking this exact same test that you want homeschoolers to take. I also homeschooled my child for 3 years after the pandemic. I oppose HB 2376 for the following reasons. Majority of homeschooling parents do not teach their children based on Common Core state standards. Therefore, the results of any SBA test based on Common Core state standards for a homeschooler will be inconclusive. Also, This bill does not respect parental choice as stated in your bill, as many homeschooling parents will now be forced to follow the traditional DOE calendar rather than have a choice of when to homeschool. And I can assure you, most of them don't, which is the wonderful part of homeschooling beauty. Also, I want to know, why does the DOE want to monitor a homeschooling child for developmental delays, learning differences, or other educational needs that may benefit from additional evaluation, resources, or supportive services offered by the DOE when the DOE forfeits these services to homeschoolers when they withdraw from the DOE system? Did you know that? And if they are offered, parents of homeschoolers also may refuse because the implementation of these services do not align with the benefit of the child to learn, hence why the parent, especially of special needs children, withdraws from their children from the DOE system. Also, did you know that Hawaii's public schools will receive funding when the schools perform below the average of other schools nationwide? You don't believe me? Look up Strive High Hawaii for the individual report cards of each of these public schools. So this funding for these schools that perform below average is used to help the schools implement programs that help the students catch up to the level of their peers. However, this funding is not extended to homeschoolers taking the test. Yet, the public schools that are zoned to, you're going to take the homeschoolers' results along with the public school? That's inconclusive. Also, finally, I oppose this bill because of the undue added stress that my child faced when taking this test. I also oppose this because I've seen many children struggle that compared to their peers, they're wondering why. I've seen parents say, my child is scared to take this test because she's not a measure with her peers when God created each of us individually and uniquely. A homeschool child learns individually and very differently, which is why we homeschool. I ask you, please please honor our flexibility, individualized instruction, and strong family engagement offered to homeschooling families. Please respect our parental choice of homeschooling families and drop this bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your testimony.
Talofa lava, aloha, and greetings, esteemed Chair Woodson, esteemed Vice Chair Lachika, members of the House Committee on Education, and all the families represented here today on Zoom and in person. My name is Tisha Onisa. I am a wife, a mother of four, born and raised in Ewa Beach, Hawaii. I'm a homeschooling parent, and I come before you today to respectfully but firmly oppose HB 2376. First and foremost, this bill is built on a flawed premise that the DOE is primarily responsible for the educational well-being of my children. With respect, that responsibility belongs first and foremost to us parents. Only in situations where a child is unsafe or neglected should the state step in. But when parents are capable and committed, as so many homeschooling families are, the authority to direct the child's education should remain in the home. There is no one more invested in my children's success than my husband and I. Not the state, not the DOE. We know our children best, and we are already recognized under Hawaii law as qualified instructors. Second, HB 2376 undermines existing homeschooling protections under HRS 8-12-15, 8-12-18, and 8-12-19. These laws affirm our right to choose curriculum based on our child's needs and to determine appropriate methods for evaluating mastery. We already are accountable. We already submit testing in certain grades, but current law allows flexibility with principal approval in how that testing is conducted. But HB 2376 removes that flexibility. It mandates specific in-person state assessments on the state's timeline administered by the state. My objection is not to assessment itself, it is to the removal of the parental choice in how, when, and where that assessment happens. Finally, this bill claims to respect parental choice while expanding state monitoring. True respect for parental choice means allowing parents to determine what is appropriate for their children. When I noticed my 2-year-old son, as an example, had delayed speech, I didn't wait for the state to tell me. I sought help, I connected with local programs and secured in-home services for him because that's my responsibility as a parent, and I take it seriously. Homeschooling parents are not avoiding accountability. We are exercising responsibility, we're embracing it. And today it is mandated testing, but tomorrow it could be mandated curriculum. Where does it stop? For these reasons, I respectfully urge you not to advance HB 2376. Please preserve the rights and freedoms currently protected under Hawaii law and allow parents to remain the primary decision makers in their children's education. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Okay, next please come up.
Hi, aloha. Aloha mai kako, everyone. I'm Leilani Soon. I'm also in opposition to this bill. When I was growing up, I was homeschooled from 1st to 12th grade, and I can attest that my mom and other homeschool parents truly do their best to educate their children, and that the testing that is currently in place is more than sufficient to track their progress. This bill would cause unnecessary hardship on parents, especially ones with younger students, by putting them in an unfamiliar environment that could significantly affect their testing performance. So I ask that you please oppose this bill and continue to uphold the parents' rights to educate their children in the best ways for their individual situation. Mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony.
Aloha, Chair Woodson, Co-Chair Lachika, and members of the House Committee on Education. My name is Rachel Kohatsu, and I'm a homeschooling mom of a 7-year-old daughter. We're in our 3rd year of homeschooling, and I am testifying in opposition to HB 2376. I would like to appeal to the fact that the legislature finds homeschooling to be a valid and beneficial educational option by reducing the educational options by offering flexibility, individualized instruction, and strong family engagement. And for me personally, passing this bill would make that very difficult to do. We have been able to homeschool only because of the fact that we can work around major family transitions and family crises, and to have to abide by the testing schedule that would severely limit our ability to do that. We have also, on occasion, taken advantage of opportunities for educational travel, and this would impede that as well. So if legislature truly believes that this is a valid option for education, I would like to ask that you not pass this. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in strong opposition for HB 2376. I agree otherwise with all the testimonies prior. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Aloha, my name is Kalei Vilalos. I'm in my 20th year of homeschooling my children, and I'm in opposition of this bill. I'm going to give more of a personal experience, I guess. I know I'm not the only homeschooling family here in the state. However, I have done my job for all of these years that I've had the responsibility of home educating my children. Multiple times throughout our educational journey, I've been told by the counselors and registrars of our children's registered schools that this is quote unquote, but thank you for submitting your children's scores in a timely manner. You are one of the families we do not have to worry about. So as you can imagine, being met with that statement more than once is a little alarming. Is that an oversight on the school's part, the district, the state? That really is a question for our people in power to answer. Is the answer to impose new regulations for homeschoolers? Are the public school test scores a strong example of success? I think not. What I would like to know is, how do these regulations benefit the TP? How do they benefit homeschoolers? What exactly is testing homeschoolers alongside their public school counterparts going to prove? I strongly oppose this bill. I believe that we should find other ways to fix the lack of educational success in our children. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, representatives. It's been a long afternoon. My name is Courtney Stursman. This is my youngest daughter, Violet. I am a homeschool mother of 4 and have been doing this for nearly 20 years. I have a medical doctorate, and my husband is in the military. We want to remind you that we are also part of a massive military community here. You're doing a wonderful job by serving the public. We too serve. We serve here and we serve around the world. And we choose, most of us choose to homeschool our children to give them consistency and a high level of education. When we're stationed here, having a very specified test would naturally change the curriculum that we would have to do. And it would put a massive undue burden on our military children. We want to be here. We want to pour into our families while we're here. We want to pour into the people of Hawaii while we're stationed here. We want to make sure we give our children this high level of education while we are here so they can continue to be servants around the world. But having to change and force a curriculum change in order to accommodate one specified test is a massive undue burden on a big portion of your constituents on this island. So please ask that you oppose HB 237.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your service also.
Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Maurice Green, and I do oppose this bill. I graduated from elementary to high school through homeschooling. I was fortunate enough to be part of a co-op who did testing together. My experiences with testing were positive and fun. I got to do it with my peers. I got to do it in an environment that I was familiar with, and I got to be tested by the aunties who volunteered to do it. It would make me sad to know that no other homeschooled kids would get to have this fun, positive experience about testing of all things because of this bill passing. I agree with the sentiments expressed by the others in opposition, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Green.
Hello, everybody. My name is David Kahele. So I live in Eva Beach. My wife was born and raised Eva Beach. I went to Waianae High School. My wife went to Iolani. I'm a father of 6 children, and we have been homeschooling for 17 years. When my children got into high school, we reported to Campbell High School every time. They did not once, ever send us information on testing or if we were compliant. To my knowledge, that school is heavily overpopulated. And do they even have the time or the capacity to even take care of homeschoolers testing every year? I don't know. Again, we've been homeschooling for 17 years with no problems, no issues. Our graduated children are successful and contribute well to society. If there's nothing wrong with the system, why change it? Mahalo for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kahele.
Aloha. I am a devoted homeschool mom for 3 years, and I just want to say that I affirm all the testimonies in opposition to House Bill 2376, and I firmly oppose, and I value that you value our voice so you can make a good decision.
Hi, my name is Nicolette, and I want to oppose a House Bill 2376.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well done.
Hi, my name is Ahalia. I am 8 years old. I would like to oppose House Bill 2376. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good job, guys. Good job. Well done. Well done. It's not easy. Very hard.
Good afternoon, Chair Woodson and Vice Chair LaChica and Education Committee members. My name is Miley Higashi. I'm from Hahayoni Valley in Hawaii Kai, and I have been homeschooling my children for over 20 years. I've graduated too. I have a current senior in high school and freshman in high school that we're homeschooling. And I stand before you today in strong opposition of HB 2376 for all of the reasons that have been given earlier. And I just thought I'd just share just a little personal testimony of just how it's been working for us so far. And our older two are graduated, working, and thriving in their careers. My senior in high school has had the blessing of the flexibility of homeschooling, which has afforded him being able to get his private pilot's license at 18. And he started flying at 16 because of the flexibility that homeschooling allowed for him. And so, yeah, for all of the reasons that were stated earlier, what the status quo is doing right now works well. And I just urge you to oppose this bill. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Okay, we have some testifiers via Zoom, but we're going to take a recess break and then we'll come back in about four or 5 minutes. Recess. Okay, we are reconvening. We are still on HB 2376. What we'll do is we're going to transition into the Zoom testifiers. If you're on Zoom, get ready, please. So first testifier, please go. And please just go ahead and state your name and your affiliation if you have.
Well, my name is Mike Plowman. I'm an F Beach resident. I'm a neighborhood board member. I stand by my written testimony in strong opposition to this bill, mainly because it fails to identify or provide any evidence of a problem in need of solution. Our homeschoolers are doing great. And I worry that, and I would also say that I haven't heard a single persuasive argument in favor of the bill. And what I fear is that by making Hawaii the new worst state in the nation for homeschooling, it's going to exacerbate the ever-growing problem of local families finding themselves in the position of having to leave the island. I think it might be the straw that breaks some of these families' backs. And I'm just going to say, please defer this bill indefinitely. Thanks for your time, Chair.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, please.
Hi, thank you for the privilege of testifying. Are you able to hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I do not take this freedom for granted, so thank you for that. Freedom is the most important right we have as Americans. My name is Raquel Work, and I represent and professionally support all homeschoolers in Maui. And it's been amazing to hear my fellow homeschool parents give their reasons for opposing HB 2376. The evidence is outstanding why this bill is not a good idea. I oppose it along with my fellow colleagues. I oppose the bill HB 2376. Overall, Hawaii has historically struggled with education, ranking 37th in proficiency rates for reading and math compared to other states. Achievement gaps persist year after year, and in some communities, the math proficiency rate for Native Hawaiian students has been reported as low as 3% at certain campuses. Despite this, rather than addressing the real causes inside the system, the bill reaches outward to impose additional mandates on families who have already withdrawn from the very system because it failed their children. Homeschooling in Hawaii has grown significantly. There are more than 5,000 homeschool children in the state. These families have chosen an alternative because they are dissatisfied with public education. National independent research consistently shows that homeschool students score 15 to 25 percentile points above public school peers on standardized measures. The evidence of success is clear, yet this bill treats homeschool families as though they are the problem. We have also been testing our own children for years. We don't need help with that, and we don't want the burden of having to change our programs to make it work. I speak to you not only as a concerned parent and former homeschool parent, but as someone who has served 6 years in Hawaii public schools. I stood in classrooms committed to raising achievement. What did I encounter? Confusion, inadequate training, constant changes in testing tools and measurements. What was required in one school was replaced in the next. Teachers were given shifting expectations without clear guidance. Administrators, dedicated as they were, did not have consistent tools or support. Now, this bill demands that homeschool students report to public campuses to take in-person state assessments. Logistics alone make this untenable. The very administrators who lack consistency will now be tasked with this added burden and further burden the education system of the public schools. Another added problem homeschool parents are concerned with is the public school environment, as many have stated previously. In a classroom setting, one careless or obscene comment by a student can expose other children to language or ideas that parents would never willingly want their kids to be introduced to. I have witnessed this firsthand as a classroom teacher. That experience, that risk is precisely why many parents choose to homeschool, to protect their child's hearts and minds. So I ask, why now? Why this bill now? If the system has failed to deliver on its promises after decades of reform, why is the answer to expand its reach into homes that are succeeding? Does the state lack financing? If that is the motivation, academic standards of homeschoolers is the responsibility of
Mrs. Worthington,
homeschoolers.
can you please truncate your testimony?
Yes, I'm right at the end. This is not about academic improvement, it's about control. Homeschool freedom in Hawaii was hard-won. It is grounded in parent responsibility, not bureaucratic mandate. As a homeschool mom of 20 plus years to 2 homeschool kids who are successful, high-achieving adults, I urge you to reject Bill 2376. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Ramon. Next, please state your name.
I think from the list that I'm next. Hi, my name is Sarah Badat Richardson, and I'm a resident of Waimanalo. Thank you. I want to focus on 2 points that I want to emphasize today. The first one being logistics. First, for the schools, this sounds like a big burden to put on school officials. My own experience shows that what they already have to do is a lot. I submitted a letter of intent when my daughter was in kindergarten, yearly evaluation, when she was in first grade, kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. And at the end of second grade, I got a call asking me if I had done all of that because they didn't have a file for my daughter, at which point they asked me to send them my records so that they could get up to date. For the parents, we homeschool because we can travel for my husband's work. So when my daughter was 12, we were going to go to Italy. We studied Romeo and Juliet, and then we stood in Verona on Juliet's balcony. And no test is going to test her for that. Okay. Then the double standard on the bill itself is that it burdens us with having to go to the public school for testing, but does not specify additional benefits, such as us being able to access sports, clubs, or resources for special services if they were to be screens for disabilities. So for all of those reasons, I oppose the bill, and thank you for voting no. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Hi.
You have two. You probably have two.
How about it?
You need to mute one of your devices.
Okay. How about now? Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
All right. My name is June Mather. I am on the board of Christian Homeschoolers of Hawaii, and I oppose House Bill 76.
It's not us.
It's not us, my husband says.
We're good. Okay, we got her. Yep, should be good.
Okay, keep going.
Okay. I don't have my testimony in front of me. I submitted a written testimony. I agree with what the parents and the children have stated about why they oppose House Bill 2376. I would like to also add, I don't think this has been mentioned yet, that the Chapter 12 rule, which regulates homeschoolers in Hawaii, already includes safeguards if a child is not making satisfactory academic progress. Standardized test scores for homeschool students must fall in the upper 2/3 stay nines. If a principal determines that progress is not adequate, in other words, if it falls below 2/3 stay nines, the principal shall meet with the parents to discuss the educational plan for improvement for the child. That's already in Chapter 12, Section 81218D. So yes, as you can see, there are already safeguards there. I would also like to add that I visited the Capitol on our Homeschool Capitol Day on February 3rd and met with an aide from Senator Favella's office. Something she said about the in-person in public school testing was concerning to me. In an attempt, could this bill be something to help teachers, be mandatory reporters to identify abuse or neglect of homeschool children when they come in for the in-person public school testing? HB 2376 casts a large net and will not catch the fish that you want. Consider children who experience abuse, or neglect also have a history of chronic absenteeism or truancy in Hawaii, an indication that education is not taking place. Public schools document the absences and have procedures for addressing this issue with parents. If a parent with such a documented history withdraws a child to homeschool, the Department of Education should require parents to submit an education instructional plan and monitor the child's academic progress over a period of time. Such monitoring could include meetings with the child's parents to discuss the educational plan and the child's academic progress. The state of Colorado already has a similar provision in their homeschool statutes. Please check out CRS 22-33-104.5. Any legislations or revisions to Chapter 12 should protect parental rights to direct the education for their children, as you've heard from many of the parents today, as well as the children. It should also protect children from abuse by their parents or guardians. HB 2376 does not meet this criteria. I urge lawmakers to reconsider, and that is why I oppose this bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. For the online testifiers, we are trying to stick to a 1-minute limit. This is to allow everyone to testify, and we realize that might be difficult if you have pre-prepared remarks. Try to stick within the 1 minute if you can. Thank you. Next testifier.
Hi, my name's Alex. I'll just cover the, I guess the abuse portion. I'll change it up a little bit since everybody kind of covered some other things. So I just wanted to say that decade after decade, peer-reviewed studies consistently show that homeschool students K through 12 outperform their conventional school peers. And in many of these studies, it's significant. And this is regardless of parents' education level or household income. Additionally, there are many other studies, including the Harvard releasing their own, of 12,000 children that, despite stereotypes, having on average better social emotional health. And I think this is important because what we know of children, what we know, how do I say this, what we know regarding abuse and how it impacts a child and how it impacts their academic performance. Introducing this bill throw in another high stakes variable that unintentionally reduces these advantages, narrows teaching to adhere to the testing requirements, and negates what made homeschool students successful to begin with. It would also not acknowledge the 44% of Hawaii residents, 85% of principals, 91% of teachers that the DOE themselves surveyed opposing the testing program. This bill is disregarding what is working and it substitutes it with a measure that has no demonstrated benefits. My last comment, nationwide, abuse is chronically underreported and underdetected, and that's even by teachers that are meeting with their students daily. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Next testifier, go ahead.
Aloha. Is it me, Sarah?
Yes.
Okay. I am in another meeting and I'm about to testify there as well. So, okay, the Kalaman for this. I'm just here in strong opposition to this bill. As you've heard, the countless KP, the countless parents, and the community stating the reasons why. It is our choice to choose the educational path we best believe is what suits our KP. As other testifiers have mentioned, you're undermining the very reason for homeschooling. If the state wants to support, I stand on my testimony, then resources, optional support, and access should be provided, not mandates and compliance structures. Regarding control and compliance and mandates, that's not where to go. So again, centralized systems that fail to meet the needs of all learners are the reason that many of us choose this in the first place. For this and the reasons that everybody else has mentioned as well, I oppose this bill. Please eliminate, cancel this bill. Mahalo nui.
Thank you, Tara. Next testifier, go ahead.
I believe that's it.
Okay, that's all we have on Zoom. The Zoom is still open. Anyone else wishing to testify in person, please come up. You come to the table in twos if you're comfortable.
Good afternoon, my name is Chris Miguel Hamakua. I'm actually a homeschool graduate. I was homeschooled from preschool all the way through high school, never attended a formal class, other than attending community college when I was 16 years old. I'd like to say I'm a well-adjusted adult. I just wanted to point out one of the perks of homeschooling is the flexibility and the personalization of education for the children. As we know, Hawaii is a very expensive state to live in. Most parents have to both work in order to continue living here. My husband and I both work full-time, but with our particular jobs and shift schedules, we could actually make it work to homeschool our child should we choose to do so. But that would require us to be able to be flexible with our schedule, and being forced to follow DOE's school schedule would not work. Many people choose other schedules to work for them and their families, and being forced to have the end of the school year be in the summer or in the late spring does not work for everyone. People travel, people learn at different rates. Homeschooling is also not based on grade, it's based on mastery. So to say that a student in a particular grade needs to know a certain piece of information is not necessarily correct, because you cannot learn a piece of information without mastering the information before it. Those are just a couple of reasons I agree with most everybody else prior to me in opposition of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hamakua. Next.
Mahalo for having me. My name is Laulani Teal, and I am a homeschooling parent of two now young adults. I want to say that when I brought my children out of the regular school system and homeschooled them, it was extremely important because my children, they're both transgender. And of course, this happened before we knew that, but they were already experiencing extreme trauma within the school system. And because their time for testimony is so short, this is the point that I want to focus on, because there are a lot of people who are saying that this bill needs to move forward for safety. But as a parent of transgender children, I will tell you that the real safety issues, and as somebody who also has worked for many years with the child welfare system and and with child abuse, this would not protect the children that it speaks about protecting, and it would traumatize children who are very much in danger because of trauma that they've experienced already. I don't think that this bill would have saved any of the children who have died of child abuse, but it could potentially contribute to the deaths of children who are actually dying as teenagers by suicide because of bullying that is not controlled in the school system, because of systemic pressures that exist within the school system. I come from the Aloha Aina movement, and my children, when they were homeschooled, while kids were studying what the United Nations is, my kids were going to the United Nations. They were learning science, they were learning history, they were learning these things in real life in ways that they could never learn outside. And when they returned to the regular school, their scores brought their entire grades up, the entire grades, because of their single testing scores. So, and this is not unusual. All of these parents that you're seeing here today, all of these children, they're brilliant examples of spirits and sovereign thinkers who will be the future that we need collectively, in whatever capacity they have. Well, my oldest child is now the premier transgender playwright for Hawaii. And my youngest child is about to graduate from Pacific University in Oregon. I think you've heard from a lot of children who are shining examples of what we want to see. And that can't happen if they are traumatized and repressed, and this practice goes into some kind of hiding or is in some kind of battle. What we need is we need to integrate, to support, to make the school system better. And we can do that, and we can build better solutions with this community. Mahalo.
Thank you, Mrs. Till. Any other testifiers? HB 2376, please come up.
My name is Nathan Shane, live in Kaneohe.
Sorry, quick recess.
My name is Nathan Shane. I'm a Kaneohe resident, born and raised here in Hawaii. I've spent almost 12 years overseas, learned a second language after high school. I was homeschooled from the 4th grade on. My wife was homeschooled all the way through. She has a master's degree in English education. We met overseas as English teachers, and we now have 10 children. One of them testified just a little while ago, and I didn't testify earlier because I thought I had to pre-present written testimony. But I just want to come and say thank you, first of all, for having this hearing and allowing us to make public our statements. As a dad of 10, we're already homeschooling several of them, and we already fulfill all the requirements every year, sending in our letter of intent to our respective schools and the different grades, and they are aware that our grades, our kids, are up there. A few years ago, when we tested, we didn't tell the kids what their scores were, but they were testing way into college level with their reading alone, not to mention other subjects. So as a dad of 10, as a homeschool dad, as a second generation homeschooler who is about to graduate his first, I want to say thank you, and we do oppose this bill.
Hello, my name is Matthew Ching, and I oppose this bill because if I had to go and take tests in my post school, I would be really nervous and I probably won't be able to take the test.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your testimony. Good job. Thank you. Anyone else? HB 2376. Okay, we have someone on Zoom. Zoom testifier, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, hi, my name is Anuhia Maeda, and I'm a homeschool mom on the Big Island. And I currently homeschool my 6 children. I'm also a second generation homeschooler. My mom homeschools me and my siblings, and some of us actually went on to college. And like one of my brothers, he went to the Naval Academy and he became an officer, and he's now currently retired. And all of this was under the current laws. We were successfully homeschooled. I decided to get married and have my children. And I have 6 children I homeschool, and I strongly oppose this bill. Standardized tests are not an accurate form of measurement. Like, for example, some of my boys, they're like walking encyclopedias. They just go around spouting facts about all kinds of things, but maybe they're not going to score well on a test. And so for those reasons, and I agree with what everybody else has said in opposition to it, I think our homeschooling community is just so great. And I just ask that you please vote no on this bill. Thank you so much for the chance to testify.
Thank you for your testimony. Please go ahead.
Hello, hi there, distinguished committee members. Thank you so much for the time to speak today. I'm here in opposition of Bill 2376. I'll just make it very brief. Main reasons: I do affirm the testimony of the other parents and children who are concerned about the inflexibility of this. I myself am a single parent, so it's really important that the flexibility for myself and my family is maintained, that I can be there for my children, maintain that open communication with them about what they're being taught in school. And from just personal experience, I was really hopeful when my boys sitting behind me were entering high school as freshmen. I'm a recent homeschool parent, just transitioned out of the public school, so it's really important that I maintain that. But there's such a huge difference. They were coming home every single day with fear and worry about the racial discrimination they were experiencing in school, the gang activity they were exposed to that also promoted drug use. There was violent threats made against them. And so for me, it was not really much of a choice but to transition into the high school or to the homeschool arena. So now they're doing so well, and I just would like to affirm the rest of the testimony and oppose Bill 2376. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your time. Anyone else?
Hi, thank you for your opportunity to speak before you. My name is Mike Higashi. I'm a homeschool dad of 4. I also have the blessing to say that I'm a grandpa as well. It's been a true, I was private school educated here in Hawaii. My wife was public school educated. We have chosen this route to educate our kids homeschool route because we felt like it was a privilege. It was an opportunity for us to spend as much time pouring into them, speaking truth and winning their sales so that they could be the best people that they could be to contribute to making Hawaii and our country as good as possible. And this bill that's being passed is something that is questioning the motives of parents like myself. That's how I feel, because it's questioning why we're doing what we're doing and whether it's effective or not by putting a test that is that has the right intentions, but it's putting us in a situation where we're having to give up a lot of the freedoms that we as parents have enjoyed for many years. And I know you're one of the key sponsors for this, and I see that you have 4 beautiful children, and I know you love your children dearly. And I think you would agree that no one would love your children more than you could ever. And no one would ever want the best for your kids as much as you. I'm sorry, I've never done this before. But we all love our kids more than anyone else could ever do that. And we have the best intentions for them. And so for us to have this freedom that we have to live in this country, in this state, and to continue to homeschool the way we have for nearly 18 years, and to have it change, and to risk future generations of students and parents losing their freedoms like this is going to be more harm to our state than good. And so I'd ask you to consider what's in the best interest of the next generation and whether this is truly in the best interest. And as a homeschool dad, I don't agree with what you're proposing.
Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else? HB 2376. Seeing none. Any questions?
I have a quick question, Chair.
Please go ahead.
For the department?
Take care of seconds.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And also I do want to thank every single individual, child, family member, parent that came out and testified as well. one of the things I think that is one of the most beautiful parts of the legislative process is to watch people share their voices, their opinions, and how legislation will impact their lives. One of the things that came up was bullying, and that a lot of families pull their children out of the DOE system because of bullying. I think, while not necessarily stated in this measure, I think part of this, and it also came up in bits and pieces of testimony, was the issue around how do you protect kids who are either truant in the system or maybe are experiencing hardship or neglect at home, and those parents pull their kids out. Today we witnessed the immense love that I think parents have for their children, and the extent that they're willing to go to protect their kids by homeschooling. What was not present, and I think what is usually never present, are the parents who pull their kids out because they are neglecting them. What protocols are in place to protect those kids? Because I think that this measure is probably not the right way to address that specific issue, especially after all of the testimony, but are there measures in place to protect those kids who are pulled out because of neglect at home?
So currently there's not, and listening to all the testimony today, reading all the testimony, I think there are a lot of good ideas about other measures that can be put in place. I think this is something that we are really looking into, homeschool students. There's a huge increase. Some schools have over 100 kids being homeschooled, and I was really shocked at that volume. So it is something that we are really looking and trying to address, and I think getting the input from this community is very important.
I'm sure if I can ask one more question. Going back to, thank you for that. I'm glad the department's looking into it. I certainly think that's something that's really important. I think the other portion that comes up a lot is the bullying aspect. And we have a couple of other measures that this committee has looked at. I know I have one that I've introduced as well around Chapter 19 and protection for students on campus. But really, you're seeing this massive influx of people who are pulling their kids out because their kids don't feel safe on campus. What are we doing to protect the kids on campus, and what safety measures are in place around creating like a safety plan for kids? And I mean, I've had my own experience now that's really kind of shocking, and I have my own family member is now potentially going to be pulled out of the DOE system. We're looking at virtual options because they don't feel safe on campus. So at what point does the department step in if there's, I think, neglect potentially on, I don't want to say the complex level, but maybe at the school level by not protecting kids with a safety plan or anti-bullying efforts?
So bullying is a problem, and it's one that our office does try to address. We start with looking at social emotional learning, positive behavior supports to try and build that foundation and create classrooms and campuses that are safe and nurturing. When these issues come up, it is the school's responsibility to address it. We do have some procedures in place, but I think every case is unique, but it does require the school to address it to everyone's satisfaction. And it is disheartening when there are cases in schools where children are being bullied. I've experienced that as a parent, my own children, and it's a difficult thing to contend with. But I do believe that schools have the resources, and my office does stand ready to support them. Because when we hear about these cases, we certainly will address them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rep. Any other questions? Please go ahead.
A lot of these testifiers, I mean, shucks, 8 years old, yeah? But one thing that stood out to me, that one lady, I mean, it was mentioned several times, but that one lady really, she said it really well. That if her child is showing signs of speech impediment or slow learning, they immediately go take it to a doctor and get an assessment. The DOE, and not you, but the system, a teacher may not recognize that because he's got 20 to 30 students in the class. So that may go unnoticed for a while. And then by the time you catch it, it's 2 or 3 years later. How do you, well, what's your take on that?
Well, child find, right, we do try to assess all of our students. We have the kindergarten entry assessment that's given to all of our kids. That can show some delays that are evident. Having a class of 20 is also a way to compare if students are on the same level or not. So I do believe our schools can identify delays and then address them through our child find process.
I have another question, but I don't know how to ask it.
Please go ahead.
You know what, the whole assessment situation, why did the DOE get rid of the HST? The HST was a really good assessment test for school. And it covered a lot of what you guys are asking, English, language arts. It also covered other steps that would help identify. Why would we get rid of an assessment program, but now we want to implement a different one?
So I personally don't know the answer to that question. The HST, I think, was before I became a teacher. I think it was in it.
Sorry if I'm showing my age.
So, but I can get the answer to that question and when we transition to another test.
Thank you.
Thank you. Remember any other questions? Vice Chair.
Thank you. I echo Rep. Capella's sentiment. Again, mahalo to everybody who took the time to spend with us today and share your voice and your testimony. It is I think what I believe is the intent of this committee, and everybody here in the room, we all share the same goals. I believe that we all have compelling interest in the absolute security and safety of our kids, as well as getting the best quality education. And yeah, perhaps this is not the right vehicle, but what currently is in place, as you mentioned, some schools have up to 100 homeschooled kids, but do you have definitions for what you would determine to be a child falling like through the cracks, and what mechanisms are in place as you check these at the 3rd, 5th, 8th grade, 10th level to see whether there's, at least on that side, educational possibly neglect or like falling behind for educational assessments. But yeah, how do you define what could be like a child falling through the cracks, and what is currently your process?
I think there's a lot of challenges around homeschooling for the department. If a family does not send in a report, they don't have to come to our testing. Some do. When I was a principal, I had kids come for courtesy testing. But if they don't come, that is noted. And I think that becomes the challenge as a department, how to follow up if we don't hear. A lot of times families move out of state and don't let the school know. So the numbers are, it's a challenging component, and I think this year we've really just started to quantify how many kids. We're putting it into our information system so that we can track that. We can track if we receive their report and see how they're doing, and then also be able to perhaps work with DHS about ways that we can move forward if we have a concern about neglect.
So currently, as you just shared, there's no system in place to track that, and a current understanding between you and DHS on how to navigate like these types of potential cases.
Well, currently we do have a system. It's just a year old, really, where we are putting this information into our student information system. We used to track when kids did do a 4140 to exit. So we've kept that information, but now we're trying to keep a better track of whether they're reporting their progress annually. We send out letters. Some people talked about that in their testimony about the letters that are sent out. We send out one letter, we send out a second letter, third letter, and that has basically been the extent of our follow-up with these families.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That's my question.
Can I follow up, Chair?
Please go ahead.
Department. Just want to follow up what you were just describing. So after someone 4140 is out into homeschooling, are you saying that now you're going to attract them in Infinity Campus?
In Infinity Campus, there's a homeschooling module now. We just
Okay.
started it this year.
Just this year?
Yeah.
Okay. And to kind of follow up with Rep. Chief's question, so my experience with 4140 homeschool, the school administrators that I used to work with basically didn't do anything to follow up. It was kind of like the students off my books. So that's changed in the last year.
I can tell you that when I came into this position, I think homeschooling was an issue that concerned me and that I tried to address this year. So we are making changes in the way that we're collecting information and then trying to form a strategy that supports homeschooling families, but also helps us to make sure we know where they are and that they're safe.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Representative.
Quick
Any
follow-up.
other questions? Please go ahead.
Just on the data, you're talking about the collection. Is that going to be reported anywhere on the website, the DOE website, on how many students specifically are exiting the DOE system?
I have the number that have applied for 4140s. I don't know about the annual reporting. I think it's probably something we can do, but I can also get that information too.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Member, any other questions? Okay, we're going to move on to the next bill. We will do decision making at the end of the agenda. Next bill is HB 1634. This is regarding homeschooler children participating in DOE sports. First up on our testifiers list, we have Department of Education offering comments in person.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Teru Shijima, testify on behalf of the department, and we stand by our written comments.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Oahu Inclusion Co-op offering testimony support in person. We have 9 individuals all offering testimony in support, with the conclusion of 2 in opposition. Anyone else? HB 1634. Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Any questions? Time's getting late, so we're going to move on to the next bill. The next bill we have is HB 1891. This is with regards to universal dyslexia screening and the DOE. First we have is Department of Education offering comments in person.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Teru Shijima again. I will stand on our written testimony providing comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have the State Council on Developmental Disabilities offering testimony in support, not present. Next, we have Special Parent Information Network offering testimony in support.
Sir, it's for the Special Education Advisory Council.
Yes, please come up.
It feels good to get up and move around, yeah. Thank you so much for hearing this bill. It's very, very important to families of kids with disabilities, as well as the many struggling readers in our system. And having dyslexia-sensitive screeners is a very important move. We tried to push it through last year, but it didn't make it. We don't think there's time to waste. This is a very important thing, as well as the structured literacy training. That's going to make a huge difference for all kids, and we appreciate you considering that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Hawaii Kids Can offering testimony and support in person.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Erica, I'm Benny Status. I'm here with Hawaii Kids Can. I had a really passionate speech to give you, but I think I'm gonna So we have some suggested amendments. We stand on our written testimony. The important point is that we celebrate what the DOE has done so far by laying out a clear policy. We'd like to stick with it and codify it and make sure that we follow through. We have the tools, they're free. We can get this done and improve reading for all readers, not just dyslexic students. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We did receive that. We have next the Reading League Hawaii offering testimony and support in person. Teach for America, Hawaii in support. Hawaii Disabilities Rights Center in support. Hawaii State Literacy Coalition in support. AA Coalition in support. Leigh Jordan, Dyslexia Advocacy Group in support. In person, Leigh Jordan. We have several individuals, 10, all in support. We have one individual, Lauren Rocky, in support. In person, please come up.
Aloha Abe, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair La Chica, and members of the committee. I too had quite a speech, but I think I'm going to cut a little bit short because we're going on. But my name is Serena Marsden, and I've been an educator in Hawaii for 24 years. I serve as the Vice President of the Reading League Hawaii, and most importantly, I'm the mother of 2 brilliant dyslexic children. I'm here in strong support of HB 1891. This bill matters because reading changes the trajectory of a child's life. When a child learns to read early, doors open. When they struggle without support, those doors quietly begin to close. And I've seen this over and over again throughout my years in my career as a teacher. HB 1891 ensures that all students in kindergarten through 3rd grade receive dyslexia-sensitive universal screening that measures the foundational skills research tell us matter. Phonemic awareness, decoding, rapid naming, and fluency. It means that we are not just recognizing that a student is struggling, but we are identifying why that student is struggling, and this current wait-to-fail approach delays support and leaves too many of our students behind. It's equally important that this screening tool, approved and used by the state, is research-based, validated, and truly dyslexic sensitive. Not all universal screeners are designed to detect the specific language-based risk factors associated with dyslexia. So we must ensure that Hawaii adopts and implements a tested tool that measures the precise foundational skills linked to reading difficulty. HB 1891 goes beyond screening. It strengthens teacher preparation, professional learning, and intervention within Hawaii's multi-tiered system of supports. It creates coherent, research-aligned systems designed to act early before reading difficulties become entrenched. This is not about adding another test. It's about giving children and their families clarity and confidence and the right instruction at the right time. Hawaii's keiki deserve to become strong, confident readers, and on behalf of the Reading League Hawaii, I respectfully urge your support of 1891. The time to act is now. Our children deserve it. Mahalo for your leadership and your commitment to our literacy future.
Thank you for your testimony. That's all I have on my list. Is there anyone else? HB 1891, please come up.
Aloha, Chair Woodson, and members of the committee. My name is Mira Marsden. I'm a 5th grade student in Hawaii and a dyslexic learner. Learning to read was always challenging for me, but I also have many strengths like art, creative thinking, and even public speaking. Those are my dyslexic superpowers. HB 1891 matters to students like me because we make sure children are identified early through dyslexic sensitive screening in kindergarten through 3rd grade. Not just any reading test, but ones that assess the specific skills dyslexic students struggle with, such as sounding out words and reading fluently. When teachers understand why a student is struggling, they can teach us ways that actually work. Because I was identified early in 1st grade and taught with structured literacy, everything changed. I gained confidence, I discovered my strengths, and now I love reading. I can hardly put down my Kindle. I want the same success for every student in Hawaii who learns the way I do. HB 1891 also clearly defines dyslexia. That may sound small, but it is very important. When we name dyslexia, students stop thinking something is wrong with them. We understand that our brain just works differently than others, and that we can succeed using our dyslexia to develop incredible ideas and talents. Dyslexic students are thinkers, problem solvers, and innovators. Who knows, maybe the cure for cancer or the solution for climate change is in the brain of a dyslexic thinker. But we can only reach our full potential if we receive the right support at the right time. Please support HB 1891 so students like me and all the students who come after me have the chance to become confident readers. Mahalo for listening.
Thank you so much.
My name is Coco Bet, and I live in Kailua, and I'm a third grader at LJ Academy. I'm dyslexic, and I'm please asking you to support HB 1891 because there are many kids like me who are really smart but learn differently. We didn't know I was dyslexic until second grade, and I struggled to learn sight words, read very slowly, and had trouble in remembering things like days of the week and months of the year. Now my teacher helps me breaking big things into smaller steps, and that helps me, and I'm not the last one to finish in class anymore. I'm really good at telling stories and out loud and remembering lots of juicy details, and I also love art because it calms me down. I'm also very good at reading the room and understanding how people feel. And if I'm reading this room right, I think you all want dyslexic Keiki to feel confident, love school, and be successful. Thank you for passing this bell.
Thank you so much.
Aloha, Chair and committee members. My name is Nobley Marson. I'm a second grade student, and I have dyslexia. My brain learns differently. Sometimes reading is hard for me, but when my teachers teach me step by step, I can learn. I just need to be taught in the right way. Right now, Hawaii is the only state without a law to support dyslexic learners. When we don't name it, kids can feel confused and think something is wrong with them. I'm smart. I just learn differently, and I want every child in Hawaii like me to learn to read too. Please support HB 1891 so all kids in Hawaii can learn to read and succeed. Now listen to my voice. No play second grade.
Thank you so much.
Very well.
You'll read better than me. Thank you so much. Anyone else? HB 1891, please come up.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Lauren Farasati, and I'm the grandmother of one of those young ladies that just spoke. For me, this is personal. I've been sort of on her literacy journey from the time she was 3 or 4, and I knew something wasn't right. She struggled to learn sight words. She had struggled to tell her left from her right, to blend sounds, even in hula. All the little girls, it was really hard. And we were told when we had tried for an IEP that she wasn't sufficiently behind. By the time we formally got a dyslexia diagnosis, she was sufficiently behind, and at that point, her self-esteem had taken a beating. Because there was no mandatory dyslexia screening tool in our kindergartens, the very obvious signs that would not have been hard to pick up had we been looking were missed. We're fortunate, we go to a wonderful school, she's well supported, she's getting the support, the accommodation she needs, but that's what we want for every kid in Hawaii. And I just want to point out the irony. The irony is that Hawaii ranks #1 in the United States for affordable and accessible health care. And yet, we're the only state with no law to identify and support dyslexic learners. Literacy isn't just an academic issue, it's a health issue. It's a health predictor. Because children who learn to read well go on to have lower rates of disease, incarceration, and poverty. Early literacy is healthcare. Please pass this critical legislation.
Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else? HB 1891, please come up.
All right. Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. I am testifying in strong support of HB 1891. I'm an assistant professor of education at Chaminade. I teach literacy courses here. And in those roles, I understand the importance of dyslexia-sensitive screening and instruction. And one of the areas I'd like to talk about is the screening process, the assessment process. So dyslexia is very complex, and we're still learning more about it as time goes on, as more research comes out. But a few of the areas are word knowledge, language, memory, comprehension, fluency, decoding, spelling, and it's often rooted in phonemes, which are the sounds we hear, and that you produce, and then morphemes, which are the smallest sounds that have meaning. So it has to do with meaning. And with all of those different areas of reading, each of those is a spectrum. And in each of those areas, someone who has dyslexia might be on the higher end or the lower end. And I say all of that because not all screeners, not all tests, and the tests we're using currently do not necessarily identify someone who has dyslexia. So that's why just having the dyslexia-sensitive screener is key. And I don't know if I said this or not, but I do have dyslexia, and I was diagnosed as an adult. And one of the things that the students shared had to do with confidence. And when you have dyslexia and you're living in a world that is full of literacy, every single action, every single decision has to do with literacy. It's very confusing and it can be really shameful too. And having some tool that can identify dyslexia is extremely impactful. And from a more professional role, it's my opinion that it's one of the most efficient, economical, and easiest tool to use in order to drastically improve reading achievement. So, thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for being here. Anyone else? HB 1891. Dyslexia screening. Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Question for DOE. What time is it? What's it here? Time's up. DOE. Time's up. Question.
Okay. Just a quick question. So we met over the interim about literacy and numeracy, and you did provide us with some of your levers and strategies. So how much of this is currently planned versus what's ongoing? Which of these is specifically, maybe starting with the screeners, are all schools required to have a dyslexia sensitive screener? And maybe, what's being prioritized right now?
So we do have the literacy levers, and the universal screeners and dyslexia sensitive screening is a priority. In fact, we've had a work group that started, I think, in late May last year with different stakeholders. They looked at different possibilities, what was done in different states, what tools are available, and we are at the point where we're very close to identifying approved screeners, especially important for grades K to 3, because we want to catch them early on so that we can provide appropriate interventions. And we are making progress with the other levers, which are related to the items in this bill. So, for example, wanted to share with you. So, in terms of training for our teachers, what we have available is some open source materials that we've used to do training in partnership with the work that we've been doing for our CLSD 2 grant, which was the $60 million we were fortunate to be awarded over the next 5 years. So we have this Cox Campus preschool training, as well as specific training for kindergarten to grade 5. And those two are with Cox Campus, which is an open source. So not only are this comprehensive literacy grant schools able to participate, even those who weren't awarded the grant are able to join in, and we have schools doing that. And for the secondary, we have this Ohio literacy, structured literacy training that we are providing. And this is we're at no cost to our schools. And the other part of the grant, we also have a work group with our higher education institutes, and we have been discussing with them what type of training is necessary with our pre-service teachers, so that together we have 5 of the participants from different higher education institutes. And in fact, I think they had their 3rd or 4th meeting this morning. So they're coming up with recommendations in terms of updating what's needed for literacy that they should include for their pre-service teachers. So when they come to us, they're aligned with the needs that we've identified.
Assistant Superintendent, are the recommendations finalized from the working group yet?
No. And it's part of our comprehensive literacy grant. It's one of the goals, and so over the 5 years, but it looks like we've started it and they're making progress. So we're hopeful that's not going to take 5 years to come up with the recommendations.
But a lot of what you shared seems still pretty early in your planning, so hasn't been implemented yet because it's schools haven't taken it up yet.
Schools are currently and have been for at least required for at least, I think, since Superintendent Hayashi started to provide universal screeners for students in kindergarten all the way through grade 9. But whether some of them are using screeners that would be considered dyslexia sensitive, but not all. So the work group is identifying what would be appropriate so that all of our schools would be able to utilize those to help identify students who are at risk for reading challenges.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent. If you can provide our committee, as that working group progresses, any recommendations that you feel are been adopted by the working group, and then any relevant updates on the levers, too, I think we would appreciate it. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Just to piggyback on some of that line of questioning, what are some of the identified screeners that are approved per the working group?
So I'll be able to get that to you. We are in the process of working with our complex area superintendent, so we haven't really made those public yet, but we're happy to soon. I think we should have that available to share widely, and we'd be happy to share that with you.
Can you tell me if Dibbles is on there? Is that one of the approved screeners? Dibbles? That's an old one.
We haven't really announced which ones are to all our schools yet. We haven't let the complex areas know. But whatever we have, what the work group has recommended does include phonological awareness, phonemic awareness, rapid automatic naming, RAN, and so those are the things that we looked for, among other things.
Is the schools currently using Dibble?
Yes, we have many schools that are currently using Dibbles.
But you can't disclose if that's going to continue.
I would like to wait to share that with you because we haven't communicated to the schools yet.
What about iReady?
So we haven't communicated what the recommendations are with the schools. But as soon as we do, we'll be happy to share that information.
Is iReady currently being used in schools for a screener?
Yes.
Is iReady sufficient to identify dyslexia?
Our list will indicate whether it is or not.
I'm told it's not. But you guys are using that right now?
Yes, some schools are using that.
Why are you using that if it's not approved as sufficient to identify?
Schools had the choice on what screeners they were able to use. And so now, and we agree with the testimony, that was provided today, that it's important to have a screener that is able to identify students that could possibly be at risk for reading difficulties. And so we've made efforts, and we're very close to sharing the recommended list.
Why thus far have you allowed iReady to be a screener for dyslexia if it's not sufficient to identify?
Previously, it was not required for schools to specifically use a dyslexia-sensitive screener, and schools had the choice to determine what screeners were most appropriate for their schools. But we have since identified having a more uniform requirement for universal screeners and being also dyslexia sensitive. And so as one of our levers, we have agreed as a leadership team to move together in that direction. So although some schools may have been using a screener that may not meet the criteria, we are in the process of steering the schools so that they will all meet the requirement.
I'm curious, what is the department's leadership role when a best practice is not being utilized? When do you as a department step in and say that this is something that you should look at the school level?
We step in as soon as we are able to. I think a lot of the schools have a lot of autonomy and decision making, and they have been able to, with their previous school design focus, to select their own materials. But we have slowly shifted that. So another one of our levers is.
But my question is, if a school is not using a pedagogical best practice, when does the department let that school know that perhaps they should go in a different direction?
So when we provide supports to our lowest performing schools, and we work with our complex areas, and the complex areas work with their schools in terms of looking at best practices and what is most appropriate. In fact, our Deputy Armstrong is on some school visits today because she is monitoring some of the schools that they're looking in terms of raising achievement for.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on to the next bill, which is HB 1894. This is with regards to Braille literacy materials and the Department of Education. First up, we have is DOE offering testimony and support in person.
Chair Woodson, Kenneth Gardner from the DOE, standing on our written testimony in support of this matter.
Thank you so much. Next, we have DHS offering testimony via Zoom, offering comments.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Gavin Abe. On behalf of DHS Director Ryan Yamane, we stand in support of our written testimony and are here to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being here. Next, we have the Disability and Communication Access Board offering testimony in support. It's only written testimony. Next, we have Hawaii Civil Rights Commission offering testimony in support. National Federations of the Blind of Hawaii offering testimony in support in person if they're here.
Thank you, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair LaChica, and members. James Gashel here, representing National Federation of the Blind of Hawaii, strongly in support of HB 1894. We've been working on this bill together with the Department of Education for the last couple of years. 3 years ago, you helped put through a bill that strengthened provision of instructional materials for low vision and blind students, and that's worked out very, very well. This is the next step in strengthening education for low vision and blind students, and that's to more regularize the Braille education services for this population. We think the bill's ready to pass. Hope you do so. Thank you very much for your efforts in this regard, and for those of our many supporters and the help from the Department of Education. Mahalo for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Cashel, for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have the Hawaii Disabilities Rights Center, Mr. Erdeshep, offering testimony support. Not here. We have Marie Boothford, offering testimony and support in person. Is Marie here? Okay, we have testimony from Mrs. Fong in support, in person, here. We also have Zoom testimony from Mrs. Butler offering testimony in support. Present. Not present. Next we have Mr. Sakamoto offering testimony in support via Zoom. Not present. Not present. Next we have Mrs. Stinnett offering testimony in support via Zoom. Present. Lastly, Jocelyn Borsha offering testimony in support via Zoom. Jocelyn.
She's here, let me ping.
Jocelyn. We also have testimony from about a dozen individuals all in support. If someone is here, please go ahead.
Jacqueline Borsa?
Yes.
Oh, yes, hi. My name is Jacqueline Borsa. I was born and raised in Hawaii and strongly support HB 1894. Based on my experiences that I had, I would have loved to have learned Braille, and that would have been very helpful in my education, and I'm here to stand by my testimony and here to answer any questions that you may have about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony. That's all I have on my list. Is there anyone else? HB 1894. Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go on to the next bill. Which is HB 1896. This is with regards to community schools. First up is the DOE offering testimony, providing comments.
Aloha, Elizabeth Higashi on behalf of the Department of Education, and we stand by our written testimony and will be available for questions afterwards.
In support. Thank you so much for being here. Next we have University of Hawaii offering comments, not here. Next we have DHS offering comments, not here. We have Waikoloa Elementary School and Middle School Administrative Team offering testimony in support. We have Hawaii Teachers Union, HSTA, offering testimony in support in person, not here. We have Hawaii After School Alliance offering testimony and support via Zoom.
Not present.
Not present. Parents for Public Schools of Hawaii offering testimony and support. Person.
Aloha. Thank you so much for hearing everybody today. I submitted written testimony from our organization strongly in support of community schools. But having sat through all of the talks today about homeschooling, I just wanted to give another look at it from a different slant. We saw a lot of parents who are really passionate about their kids' education. And we saw the kids thriving because of that. We know not all homeschooling will be that way, but this was wonderful to see. And one of the big challenges we have in Hawaii and also around the country is the lack of family involvement in schools. And some of the fears we heard and some of the doubts we heard from some of the families that spoke today come from not really being engaged in the schools, not wanting to be engaged in the schools. Community schools is an effort that's gone on now for 2 decades in parts of the country. It came later to Hawaii, but it is a way to get families engaged. The organization that I've been with now for 16 years, Parents for Public Schools of Hawaii, is all about helping families to be engaged in education. Community schools is really one of the very best strategies we have for that. Families can get close to the school. They can get some services from the school that help them to get to know people and to break down some of the fears that can exist between families and schools. We've had very good luck with the schools, the community schools we've had. Right now we have another problem, which is the changing population in schools, with some schools having diminishing population, others being overcrowded. Community schools can help us to balance that by offering additional services in those schools that have a lower enrollment and using the real estate wisely and connecting with the community. So we are very strongly in support of community schools. We think it's one of the best things we can do to engage families. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We have Madeline McKinnon offering testimony and support in person. If Madeline's still here. We have Lauren Bellier offering testimony and support in person. We have actually testimony from the Pacific American Foundation offering testimony and support. And we have about 30 individuals all offering testimony and support, with 1 in opposition. Anyone else wishing to provide testimony on HB 1896 in person or via Zoom? Okay, seeing none, members, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go on to the next bill. Which is HB 2567. This is with regards to ACE investment, a ECE investment fund. First up, we have OEL offering testimony and support in person.
Aloha Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Lachika, and members of the committee. I'm Yuko Ariko, Cross Director of the Executive Office on Early Learning. EOEL supports HB 2567 and defers to the Department of Budget and Finance regarding implementation of the proposed special fund. We appreciate the legislature's consideration of a dedicated revenue stream to support early childhood education. Establishing an investment fund with returns deposited to the Early Learning Special Fund represents a thoughtful and forward-looking approach to strengthening long-term financing for early learning. A dedicated revenue stream for the Early Learning Special Fund would allow the state to plan strategically and respond more effectively to the needs of young children and their families. We appreciate the legislature's continued partnership and commitment to Hawaii's youngest keiki and their ohana. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of HB 2567.
Thank you for being here, Director. Next, we have HCAN Speaks offering testimony and support in person.
Aloha Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Lachika, committee members. Thank you so much for hearing this bill. Thank you for bringing it to the table. We're so excited and in full support of this bill. We know that early learning expansion has been a priority within the state, but as we also know in the same breath, that funds are limited. We are always working with a finite budget. And what this bill does is provides a dedicated funding stream to early learning, which we feel is absolutely essential. Within our testimony, we have provided a few examples of other states that have implemented a similar structure via endowments or other investment funds, and these are showing to be successful. As previous testimony stated, this will allow us to continue expanding early learning in a more intentional way, allow for planning, and allow for some dedicated investment that will enhance the long-term sustainability. So on behalf of HCAN Speaks, I humbly request that you pass HB 2567, and again, thank you for hearing this bill.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Early Childhood Action Strategies offering testimony support. And we have one individual in support. Anyone else? HB 2567. Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go on to the next bill, which is HB 2399, Charter School and Pre-K funding. First up, we have EOEL offering testimony support in person.
Aloha Chair Woodson, Vice Chair LaChica, members of the committee. I'm Yuko Arikawa, Cross Director of the Executive Office on Early Learning. EOEL supports HB 2399 and defers to the Hawaii State Public Charter School Commission on implementation and funding amounts. The establishment of pre-K only public charter schools represents an innovative approach to increasing system capacity and diversifying early learning program options. Unlike pre-K classrooms embedded within existing charter schools, standalone pre-K only schools must independently cover administrative and overhead costs. Increasing the funding for these programs will help ensure a sustainable financial model and maintain high-quality learning environments for young children. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of HB 2399.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have the Charter School Commission offering testimony and support in person.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Danny Vasconcellos Jr., Finance Director of the Charter School Commission, here on behalf of Executive Director Knoll. You have the Commission's testimony and support. We would like to provide clarification on our testimony. We do include an amount of $790,000. We do understand that the current measure has a blank appropriation. I did want to share that amount is what was requested for in our executive budget request for the purpose of funding our pre-K only schools. Unfortunately, that request was not approved in the executive budget, so we thank the committee for hearing this measure. We're available for questions. Mahalo.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have HCAN Speaks offering testimony support in person.
Aloha Chair Woodson, Vice Chair LaChica, respected committee members, thank you again. My name is Malia Suchi on behalf of Hawaii Children Action Network Speaks. I'd like to thank you for hearing HB 2399. We're so excited and so grateful that you have heard this bill. As stated in our testimony, 2 schools opened, 10 classrooms at full capacity. From the day that they opened, we had tremendous support. Parents immediately rallied around this bill. Commission has also put in for funding through the budget, which was previously stated not approved. However, I would also like to point out that one of these schools is located in an affordable housing community, and so it just speaks to the flexibility of the pre-K charter only preschools and the ability to really meet the needs of the community in real time. And so they are in their first year of operation, and we're just really, humbly requesting that hopefully this funding get implemented so that they can just really work through the kind of growing pains that they're, that are happening over these first years and really work to make this a long-term sustainable model. So thank you again. Please pass HB 2399.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next, we have Waikiki Community Center offering testimony and support in person.
Aloha. My My name is Caroline Hayashi. I'm president of Waikiki Community Center. We transitioned in August 2025 our private nonprofit preschool, which served primarily low to moderate income ALICE families, to a public pre-K only charter. And the reason we did that was because we believe that quality early education should be a right and not reserved for those who can afford it. And so we're excited to be in our first year of operation, and as you've heard, we have found that because of some of the state requirements, that's a little bit different from being a licensed private school, including bargaining unit policies, as well as making sure that we can serve the range of all needs, children with all different kinds of needs, that additional staffing is required compared to what we originally thought. And so in order to really maintain and continue increasing the quality of early education, which we all know from research is so key, the quality is so key, we ask that, we're in support and we ask that you pass this bill.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for being here. We have Parents and Children Together offering testimony and support.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Trisha Kajimura for Parents and Children Together, or PACT. Last year, PACT started Parkway Village Preschool in Kapolei, which is in Parkway Village Affordable Rental Housing. We're very happy to have 80 happy children and families receiving public pre-K in that school. And I just wanted to build on the testimony of previous speakers that we always knew there would be a funding gap that we would need to fundraise for, but it is proving to be more costly to operate at a high quality level than originally planned, and that this increase would make the school sustainable and hopefully bring this model to other communities in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Parkway Village Preschool offering testimony and support. We have Julia Wong as an individual testifying on this proposal in support. And we have testimony from 53 individuals, all in support. We also have testimony from, there you are, SFA, in support in person. No, this is wrong. That's the wrong bill, actually. So, just making sure you're still awake. That's all I have on my list. Is there anyone else? HB 2399. Seeing none, members, are there any questions? Pretty straightforward. Seeing none, we're going to go to the next bill, which is HB 2397. This is with regards to transferring impact fees to SFA to help build charter schools. First up, we have Director Fujitani, SFA. In support.
Thank you, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair LaChica, committee members. My name is Ricky Fujitani. I'm the Executive Director for the School Facilities Authority. We support this bill because what this does, it ends this endless motion that has happened with impact fees. I mean, this thing has started since 2005 and has just been constant for 21 years with really no impact. Here's a case where we can use the collected money, given the real estate situation in downtown, for expanding pre-K and charter school capacity by buying real estate. So please support what the bill does, and we can finally spend the use of school impact.
Thank you for being our director. Next, we have testimony from the AG's office offering comments.
Good afternoon, Chair Woodson, Vice Chair Jacob, members of the committee, Randall Watt, Deputy Attorney General for the department. As further outlined in our written testimony, the department has comments on this bill. U.S. Supreme Court case law states that land-use exactions such as school impact fees requires a nexus and direct proportionality to the fee has to be connected to the impacts of development that generated the fee. So the department's available if the committee has any concerns about how this bill, as worded, doesn't really specify what's going on. So if you have any concerns, we're available to help. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We also have HCAN Speaks in support. And one individual also in support. Anyone else? HB 2397. Seeing none, are there any questions? Quick question for AG's office. AG, are you able to provide us some proposed language later if this bill continues to move, or you're concerned about nexus?
Yeah, discuss with our division and see if we can find something.
Thank you so much.
Quick question, Chair.
Vice Chair.
In your testimony, is the constitutional concern, is it if we end up enrolling students that that live outside of the neighborhood boundaries? Or
It's not, I guess, exact science or it's case by case as far as what that, nexus and proportionality is, but I guess just broadly speaking that if it's serving a particular district, you want.
but not necessarily excluding students who don't reside in that district.
I can't speak to that right now.
But are you able to take a look and get back to us about enrollment specifically?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Members, any other questions? HB 2397. Okay, seeing none, we're going to go on to the last bill on the agenda, HB 2564. This is with regards to charter school facilities funding. First up, we have Charter School Commission offering testimony support in person.
Aloha, chairs and members. We know it's been a long day, but we do want to make sure the committee receives the thanks of the commission, as including our commissioners, for hearing this legislation today. Facilities funding, as we all know, has been one of the biggest challenges for charter schools. So we definitely appreciate this committee hearing this measure. Mahalo. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have OHA offering testimony support. And we have 5 individuals also in support. Anyone else? HB 2564. Okay, seeing none, members, are there any questions? Quick question for the commission. Then if you can come up and state what your job title is and also if there is dedicated facilities funding for charter schools.
Danny Vasconcellos, Finance Director with the Charter School Commission. And there is no dedicated funding for facilities at this time. Charter schools are paid for their facilities, whether it's rent or lease payments, out of the lump sum per pupil that they receive.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to recess. Okay, good afternoon or good evening. We are reconvening for the remainder of this agenda. First up, we're going to do decision making on HB 1934. This is with regards to the Imagination Library of Hawaii program. The recommendation is to pass this with the HD1, defecting the date to July 1st, 3000. There is already a preparation line per some of the concerns, so what is the effective date? Questions, comments, concerns? Vice Chair, please vote, please.
Okay, members, voting on House Bill 1934, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Amato.
Aye.
Representative Ebslin.
Aye.
Representative Garrett is excused. Representative Capella.
Aye.
Representative Kila.
Aye.
Representative Olds.
Aye.
Representative Moroka.
Aye.
Representative Souza.
Aye.
Chair recommendations adopted.
Thank you, members. Going to the next bill, HB 2004. This is with regards to the floating librarian pilot program. We've heard a version of this bill and we passed it out of committee last year. Recommendation is to pass this with the effective date. Questions, comments, concerns? Vice Chair, please vote.
Voting on House Bill 2004, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendment. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting the excused absence of Representative Garrett for this bill and the remainder of the agenda. Any members present wishing to vote with reservation? Any members voting no? Seeing none, Chair recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Going on to the next bill, which is HB 2398. This is clarifying the librarian's authority with respects to R&M and CIP projects for libraries. Members would like to pass this with the HD1, accepting AG's amendment to clarify section 1, and then also just effecting the date to July 1st, 3000. Questions, comments, concerns? Tech amendments also. Vice Chair, please vote.
Voting on House Bill 2398, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Any members voting with reservation? Any members voting no? Seeing none, Chair recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Going on to the next bill, which is HB 1764 HD1. This is with regards to music accessibility, private pilot program for our libraries. The recommendation is to pass this unamended. Questions, comments, concerns? Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 1764 HD1, Chair's recommendation is to pass unamended. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Any members voting with reservation? Any members voting no? Chair recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Going on to the next bill, which is HB 2577. This is with regards to licensing and electronic materials. Members, I was compelled by the department's testimony and quite a bit of the other testimonies, and so we're going to defer this bill. Next is HB 2376. This is with regards to homeschoolers and proficiency testing in DOE schools. Members, we heard a lot of testimony. The homeschooling community clearly doesn't win this. I thought there would be some theme, but there was a lot of individual testimony that was given, a plethora of reasons as to why not to move forward with this proposal, so therefore we will defer. Questions or comments? Any members? Okay, going on to the next bill. HB 1634. This is with regards to homeschoolers participating in extracurricular sports. Members, again, I thought that the department submitted very strong testimony. They laid out a strong argument, and so similarly, I'm going to defer. Next is HB 1891. This is universal dyslexia screening. Members, per the DOE's testimony, I would like to push back the implementation date to school year 2028, 2029. We're going to defect the date to July 1st, 3000. I also appreciated Hawaii Kids Can's recommendations. Those are two significant of changes, however, to not offer the committee a proposed HD draft. So what we'll do is we will create that proposed HD2 if this passes, and then we'll ask the next committee to consider that HD2 version if this passes. Again, defecting the date. Questions, comments, concerns? Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 1891, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Again, noting the excused absence of Representative Garrett. Any members voting with reservation? Any members voting no? Recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Going on to the next bill, which is HB 1894, Braille Literacy. Members recommending the HD1, adding a appropriation section with a blanket dollar amount. We're going to recommend $300K in the committee report, and we'll defect the date to July 1st, 2000. Questions, comments, concerns? Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 1894, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Any members voting with reservation? Any members voting no? Recommendations adopted.
Thank you, members. Going on to the next bill, which is HB 1896, Community Schools. Recommendations passes with HD1, blanking out the amount, folding it into the committee report, and defecting the date. Questions, comments, concerns? Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 1896, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Any members voting with reservation? Any members voting no? Recommendations adopted.
Thank you. HB 2567, ECE Investment Fund. Recommendations to pass this with the effective date of July 1st, 2000. Questions, comments, and concerns? Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 2567, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Any members voting with reservation? Any members voting no? Okay, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Going on to the next bill, which is HB 2399, with regards to charter schools and pre-K funding. Recommendations to pass this with the effective date of July 1st, 3,000. Also, we were recommending, per the blank appropriation amount, $790K for the testimony. Questions, comments, concerns? Vice Chair for the vote.
Okay, voting on House Bill 2399, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Any members voting in reservation? Any members voting no? Recommendations adopted.
Thank you, members. Going on to the next bill, which is HB 2397. This transfers schools impact fees to SFA. This is with regards to charter school development, specifically for the Kali'i Ala Moana School District. The recommendation is to pass this with the HD1, defecting the date. We're gonna track AG's concerns, but for now, move it to the HD1, July 1st, 2000. Questions, comments, concerns? Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 2397, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair, Vice Chair vote aye. Any members voting with reservation? Any members voting no? Okay, seeing none, recommendations adopted.
Thank you, members. Lastly, HB 2564. This is with regards to charter schools and facilities funding. Recommendations to pass this with the HD1, defecting the date. Questions, comments, concerns? Vice Chair for the vote, please.
Voting on the final measure, House Bill 2564, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Any members voting with reservation? Any members voting no? Okay, seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. Adjourned.